1 minute and counting, folks. Better grab your stuff, get your caffeinated drinks, your oxytocin-laden substances, and of course, things to write on and write with, because the show's about to start. Hello, my friends. Dr. David Snider checking in with you. And I am excited, actually, and maybe a little bit nervous, to be honest, to bring you something that, to me, goes back to my origins, but at the same time is something that I haven't taught or shared with people in a long time. Tonight's program is called Unlimited Lover, Rapid Attraction Secrets for Dating, Mating, and Relating. People have been asking me to revisit this material for a long time. And I've always been a little hesitant to do that, simply because you never know who you're going to piss off or who's going to get creeped out and file a complaint or do whatever. So I decided, because it is in fact leap year, and in fact it is Valentine's Day week, why not? Why not talk about one of the most important aspects of all of our lives, and that's love, dating, attraction, sexuality, and things of that nature. Okay. So before we get into tonight's content, if you are brand new to Planet David and you're checking in with us, please type in the chat where you're checking in from, that you're a first timer, and please give us your name. If you're a veteran, if you've been bebopping around Planet David for an extended period of time, type in your name, how long you've been a member of Planet David, and where you're checking in from. Now, even though the title of tonight's seminar may seem to be something geared towards single people, it does not have to be. You don't have to be single to, or even looking for that matter, to really benefit from this material. This material that I'm going to present to you tonight is timeless. It won't matter what technology is in play. It won't matter what part of the world you're in, more or less. These things are human attractor factors, relationship factors, things of that nature. And so they will translate. If I could be teaching this stuff in the 90s, it would be cutting edge. I could be teaching it in 2090, and it would still be cutting edge, because it's about humans. It's about how people work in spite of what we were taught to believe. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm gonna present to you throughout the course of tonight. So I see a lot of people checking in, and that's awesome. So before I get into the content of tonight's webinar, let me get through a few housekeeping rules. First and foremost, if this is your first time checking in with us, okay, and you're used to a 90-minute tease, buy my product format, you're probably in for a little bit of a shock. First and foremost, we do what we call a 3-phase or a free-form webinar, and it's divided into 3 phases. The first phase is foundations phase. These are the things that you absolutely need to know to be able to do anything that we're going to be teaching you about, or do any of the techniques we're going to be visiting in phase 3, which I'll get to in just a moment. So the first phase is foundations phase. There's always an offer connected to all of our webinars. There's always a plan B, which is what we're going to talk about when we get to phase 2. Phase 2 is where we talk about how to get access to the entire system that contains the gold nuggets that I'm going to share with you tonight. And those gold nuggets tonight are going to be things that you don't have to have the whole system to go out and do. You can take these out and you can start applying them in the field tonight and see massive transformations in your ability to date, mate, and relate with people. Okay. And these are things that will pay dividends, not just in your sexual, dating, or romantic life. These are skills that will translate into any form of human interaction. right? Whether it's one-on-one in person, whether it's through a Zoom call, a chat, a text message, a phone conversation, it doesn't matter. If humans are involved, these techniques will work for you. We don't waste time on low percentage technique. I don't have time for BS, and I'm pretty sure you don't either. So phase 2 is all about taking your steps to the next level. If you've liked what you've learned, if you see how it's benefiting you and you're having those experiences, then you're going to want to pay attention to what we're going to be telling you to do in phase 2. Phase 3 is where your education and your training continues. Phase 3 is what we call the customization phase. Phase 3 is where I take the content and the syllabi that I've created for tonight, and I poll you guys as a group to find out what applications do you want to know more about? What specific techniques from my massive tool collection do you guys want to focus in on to get results out in the real world starting tonight, if that's something you want to do? So phase 1 is foundations. Phase 2 is next steps. Phase 3 is customization and education and implementation. So that's where we really start to make this webinar your webinar. Right? This is your class. I don't view these webinars as an opportunity to promote products. What I do is I see them as an opportunity to get to know you, to help you solve some problems and show you where to go for next steps. Because if this is the scope of everything there is to learn in the field of dating, mating, and relating, right? In a 3-hour webinar, we have maybe time for this. So my commitment to you is I will take you as far as I can down this amazingly diverse rabbit hole as I can. I will show you everything I can, teach you as much as humanly possible in the time that we have, and I'll point you in the direction of where to go to take the next steps. Is that a fair trade? If you think that's a fair trade, please type "I'm good with that" or "that's fair" in the chat. I'm 80. Are you going to take my Lech card away? No, but I'll probably get you an upgrade. Right? Okay. Sharon says that's good. Cool. Yeah, nothing. Again, the technique, this is, again, one of the reasons that I'm always hesitant to teach these things is because, again, it's a very sensitive topic for a lot of people. And so, yeah, you know what, let's just get started. But before as we get into tonight's content, if there was something specific that you logged on to tonight's webinar to get the answer to, take a moment, type that in the chat right now, and let me know, because then I can start customizing even now, because I have a ton of material for tonight, and I know exactly where I intend to go, but many times where I intend to go is not where the audience wants. So what is it you most want to know about? What's your, when you logged on to tonight's webinar, what application or what question or what how-to did you want the answer to the most? Just type that in the chat. For those of you joining us through YouTube, God bless you. I love you. I see your chats in real time, but I don't necessarily see answer your questions through the video in real time. So let's see. Is there a way to recognize your soulmate? Yes and no. Because you have to define what a soulmate is. But that's a great question. First of all, in order to recognize your soulmate, you have to know what is your definition of a soulmate and what fulfills you and what challenges you. These are questions that everybody wants to know about. And depending on what culture you come from, soulmates can mean different things, right? Becoming sexually desirable where women will see me as their soulmate. Okay. The part of me that goes, fuck it. I don't know what that means. That's not a question. Okay. All right. Couple other things before we get into this. If you have questions tonight, you have 3 ways to get your questions answered. A, type your questions in the chat. If I see them and they're relevant to where we are in the focus of tonight's webinar, then I'm happy to answer those. If for some reason I think it's going to take us down a rabbit hole that's going to move us away from tonight's content, then I'm going to decline to answer that question during the webinar. But if you type that question in the comments section below the replay of tonight's webinar on YouTube or on our website, I make it a practice of going back and answering all those comments and opinions on there. Okay. If veterans of Planet David see a question in the chat that you have direct experience solving using our technologies, feel free to answer that question for people. Okay. Okay. Becoming sexually desirable. The part of me that goes, I want to recognize through part of me that does not like and won't let me find it. Okay. All right. So I see where we're going. So let's start with actually some of the things I said on our slide tonight. So tonight, in tonight's webinar, I'm going to show you what I consider to be the big picture on dating, mating, and relating. I'm going to walk you step by step through the two most fundamental aspects of attraction. Now, when I talk about attraction, a lot of people like to use the word seduction. And I'll tell you right now that I'm not a big fan of that word. And I'll share with you why that is really, really quickly. If you look at, I got a combination of, let me share my screen really quick. So these are some definitions I pulled off of ChatGPT. Well, one definition was one I pulled off of ChatGPT, the other was from Webster's. Now, one of the reasons that you won't see me talking a lot about the S word in these trainings is because of this. It says, seduction is the act of making someone want to engage in sexual activity with you, especially in a subtle or manipulative way. Seduction is commonly used in a more general meaning, the act of tempting or influencing someone to do something, especially something bad or something they wouldn't normally do. Though this sense of the word does not involve sex, it's still often thought of as a metaphor for this type of seduction that does, as opposed to attraction. In the context of human relationships, attraction often implies a sense of appeal or interest that one person feels towards another, which can be based on physical appearance, personality traits, similar interests, or other factors that foster a connection or a desire for closeness. Now, one of the things you're going to learn if you spend any amount of time in Planet David is that when I teach about language and the power of language, and I'll give you my credentials in a minute, just so you know I'm not full of shit. One of the things you're going to learn about is that when you hear a word, there are three ways to interpret a word. The first one is the dictionary definition, right? If you go to Webster's, you go to whatever other dictionaries are out there, and you look up a word, there's a common a definition for that. Then there's common modern usage. So, like, for example, if I say, hey, you're looking fat today, right? If I'd have said that 50 years ago, I'd have got kicked in the groin because they would have confused FAT with PHAT, right? Fat, pretty hot and tempting, right? Different usage of the word fat, right? Cool. 24, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, that would have meant cold. Now it means awesome, right? So that's common usage. But there's another meaning that human beings assign to words. And this is why the words that you use or the labels you assign to certain types of things are so important. And that is called what I've come to call the meta message. Now, the meta message is a visceral gut feeling that people get when they hear a certain word or a certain kind of word. So, for example, how many of you just check in with your body right now? And I want you to check in and I want you to just notice how you feel. Now, notice what happens when I say the word influence. Just check in, notice how that feels for you, where in your body you feel it, right? Now check in with your body as I say the word persuasion or persuade. How do you feel when I say that word? And just note how they're different, if they are, for yourself. Now, what happens when I say the word manipulation or to manipulate? What happens? Do you get a good feeling in your body or not so good feeling in your body? Yuck, right? Okay. Now, why is this important? Because the body feelings a person has when they interact with you will go right to the part of their brain called the reticular activating system. That reticular activating system will pay attention to those body feelings, and it will put a bunch of filters in your mind that cause you to see the world a very specific way. So when you hear the words like seduction, which some people view as a cool power word, right? Other people view it as enticing somebody to do something that's not in their best interests. because that's what I feel about that word. Even though it's a great word for marketing, it's a horrible word for you to be able, for many people like me, or people who have a strong sense of being the good guy, if that makes any kind of sense. It makes you feel a little slimy, because it implies, even if it's not quite true, it implies that you're enticing somebody to do something that's not in their best interest. And as you're going to see as we go through the content of tonight's webinar, tonight's class, really, when you enter a relationship or an interaction with any human being, and I know this is going to sound weird, and I should warn you right off the bat. I'm going to warn you right off the bat that if politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, the word boobies offends you, this is probably not the best use of the next 2.5 to 3 hours. But if you're looking for real world, hardcore, actionable methodologies and understandings of this very, for many people, complicated topic, I invite you to put your skepticism or your inhibitions on the shelf, so to speak, and just explore this with me. By the way, if something I do say creates an emotional response, if it triggers you emotionally in some way, I want you to point to where you feel that and write down what you felt on a piece of paper, so that you can go back and clean that up later. Because if something I say provokes you emotionally, especially with regard to this topic, it's probably something that's holding you back out in the relationship world. Does that make sense? If you understand where I'm at right now, go ahead and just type "I'm with you" in the chat. Cool. All right. Very good. All right. So let me just, for those of you who are brand new to Planet David, let me just go through some of my background with this and understand the evolution of where we're going tonight. So first and foremost, I actually am a doctor. I have a doctorate in Chinese acupuncture and Oriental medicine. I've had a practice here in Solana Beach since 2005, where my specialty has been treating physiological illness that is caused by repressed emotions. So while some people treat, phobia, I did a lot of phobia work too, but while a lot of people are dealing with nail biting and social anxiety and things of that nature, I'm dealing with really deep, intense repressed emotions, things that cause cancer, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's. I've dealt with every form of trauma you can think about. Huge amount of trauma work in my practice. And a lot of it is sexual trauma, right? And that's one of the reasons why I know what I'm talking about when I start talking about the words that we use and the things that we want and the things that get creepy and stuff like that. I get that, right? I totally do. So how can we navigate this particular field and stay safe? Make sure we're not dating the same person with a different face all the time. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Type that in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. Same person, different face, right? The face changes, the behaviors remain the same, right? We're going to talk in depth about that stuff. Okay. But I want to have fun with this. And this is the first thing that I want to share with you, is that much of the technologies that I've been teaching for the last 10, 15, 20 years started from a dating romantic application context. That's actually where I got my start, was in the sexuality field. The very first course that I ever created, which we're actually going to teach you about a little bit in this class, was a program called Secret Orgasm Tips. And it was a program designed to teach anyone how to be their partner's ideal lover the very first time they were together, even if that person you've never had sex with that person ever. It was one of the most powerful programs I ever created. It was a best-selling program on ClickBank for many, many years. In fact, it still sells to this day, even though I don't promote it or advertise it. Okay. We're going to be talking to you about why it was such a powerful product, why it was so timeless. Okay. And how you can begin to use some of these same principles to custom design and engineer your relationships, from introduction through the mating and courtship process to the I do process and on into infinity. The systems that we're going to be sharing with you will help you at every stage of your relationship and mating dynamic. Okay. But I will tell you right up front that some of the things I'm going to share with you may go against what you've been taught, which is one of the problems. Okay. So I'm going to teach you in the time that we have together how to attract anyone you want, or at least become significantly more attractive to anyone you meet in as little as 20 minutes. I'm going to share with you how to approach and talk to anyone, anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances, and have that person believe you are the most fascinating conversationalist they've ever met. In the process of that, you will be finding out more and more information about that person that lets you know if they're the right person or the hell no person or somewhere in between, right? We're going to teach you how to spot the body language of attraction. How do you know when you're interacting with a human being, especially someone that you're interested in, and when someone who's checking the boxes for you? How do you know when they're attracted to you, right? How do you read that? Right? We're going to talk about how to find the right partners for you. Some people were asking about soulmates earlier, right? The thing you need to understand about soulmates is soulmates mean different things to different people. You can't find a soulmate until you know who you are, what you want, and how you know that you're getting it. In fact, that particular topic is so important and so pervasive that we actually dedicated an entire program to it. We created a whole program called Soulmate Secrets that we've taught twice to a packed house each time. And it starts to give you access and understanding of things you don't even think about when it comes to dating, mating, and relating, right? I want to teach you in very broad strokes, no pun intended, how to be your partner's greatest lover. Would that be something that might be useful to, like, when you're with that person that's special to you, right? For however long that is, right? To just be able to rock their world and keep rocking it. Would that be something that people would want to know about? So let me ask you another question then. What if you could become not only the greatest lover that your partner's ever had, what if you could become the greatest lover your partner ever will have? Think about that for a moment. What if you could become the greatest lover your partner ever will have? Would you be interested in finding out how that works, or how that can be done? Yes or no? Right? I mean, think about it. What if every time, if for some reason you guys went your separate ways, what if every time they looked at another person, all they thought of was you? Kenneth says, I like how that sounds, right? You can do that. It's doable. Poor guy. Right? Look, how about we just learn how to dump all of our emotional baggage so we don't bring it from one relationship to the next? Would that be something you guys would be interested in learning about? Yes or yes? Hell yes, right? Okay. What about how to become more confident in that you can actually keep the partners you want to keep and avoid the partners you don't? Would that be helpful? Sharon says, oh, hell yes, on the confidence. Confidence is going to be a byproduct of this training. Okay. Why? Because confidence comes with taking action. Action comes from knowing what the hell you're doing. Right? That's how confidence works. You have to take an action before the confidence comes. Okay. So, oops, let me just jump through this. So, in addition to having a private practice, right, I've also authored over 15 different products on various forms of human influence. In fact, for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been ranked among the top 2 NLP trainers in the world by globalgurus.org. Some of the material you're going to be working with tonight is part of my Killer Influence program and Attraction Mastery programs, which have been ranked as Dark Arts and Killer Influence have been ranked as the #1 NLP training programs in the world for the past 4 years. So you're going to be learning a lot of cool stuff tonight. Some of it may be familiar, but we're going to be learning it in a slightly different context. Okay. I've also got multiple black belts in the martial arts. I'm working on more energy healing credentials and McDonald's sells hamburgers. So let's talk about some really important stuff. I'm going to go to my PowerPoint here just because I want you to follow along. So when we talk about attraction, here's some things I want to go over with you. Okay. So I want to talk about the ugly truth about attraction, why modern dating and mating is rigged for failure, why if you treat dating, mating, and relating like a game, you will master it faster, easier, and be more fulfilled as a result, right? I want you to understand the elements of attraction and relationships nobody told you about, even if they did, why most people fail. understanding the elements of attraction and how to create and manage and control them. And as you can see, I've got a whole lot more here. Some other things I want to show you about, and I've talked to you about how to stop dating the same person with a different face, how to understand dating, mating, and relating dynamics, how to create deeper levels of trust, comfort, intimacy, and connection, how to cheat-proof your relationships. And like I said before, be the best lover your partner's ever had, get rid of emotional baggage, approaching dating and mating with confidence and zero fear, overcome fear of rejection, manage your relationships, and much more. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is that dating has two aspects. It has inner game and outer game. So these are the places that we're going to start. So the first thing, if you've ever seen how many people here are familiar with something I call the CPI model? Anybody? Type in the chat. Universal Persuasion Protocol? Okay. So the first thing you need to understand is when you enter any form of influence interaction, you got to know what you want. You got to know what you want. You got to know how you're getting it. This leads us to the two big aspects of dating and relational influence, if that makes sense. You have inner game and outer game. Inner game is what you know. Inner game is who you are inside, what your values are, how your understanding of social dynamics, of relationship dynamics, of how human beings work, of the natural phases that arise as a product of interacting with people. Okay, that's inner game. There's a lot of inner game. If you want to be successful at dating, mating, and relating, then this is how it works. Okay, so we got to get our heads right. One of the things I learned many, many years ago when I was training in knife fighting in South Florida. My teacher was teaching out of a police academy, and we were in the gymnasium, and right across the hall was the locker room to the police locker room, and right above the doorway was a little sign, and you know what it said? Get your head right. Get your head right. What does that mean? That means you got to know your stuff. You got to control your state. You got to be able to get rapport with people. You got to know how that works. You've got to know what you're looking for, know what you're listening for, to know what's a hell yes versus a hell no, right? You've got to profile the people you want to attract. That's something that a lot of people hesitate to do. A lot of people, and again, you may be one of these people, I'm not trying to offend you, but there's a lot of us that go through the world. When I meet the perfect person, I'll know. That's what everybody who came to Soulmate Secret said until I asked them to write down what they wanted in a partner. And most of them took an hour to start writing because they thought they knew, but they don't. So the first thing that has to happen is, aside from understanding relational dynamics, especially for those of you who are looking for a long-term relationship. Okay. How many of you are looking for a long-term relationship, or Mr. or Mrs. Right? Right. Type it in the chat. Mary. Okay. Kenneth, I am. All right. How many of you, I know this is, you're going to be brave to do this one. How many of you are looking for a Mr. or Mrs. right now? In other words, just someone to have some fun with, and Royce is saying, yes, right? Look, here's the thing. For those of you who are soulmate or later, right? Okay. Here's the thing you guys all need to understand. Okay. Those of you who came on this webinar looking for a long-term relationship. Okay. Here's something you may not have thought about. This is one of the reasons I say you need to make a game out of this. All long-term relationships started out as a short-term relationship. Every single one. Every long-term relationship started out as a short-term relationship. And then as it became more fulfilling for both parties, it became longer. True, not true? True, not true? Andrew says, fuck yeah, fuck yeah. Zachary says, true. Where are the ladies? Come on, ladies. True, take one date. Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the thing. I know I've got a lot of response from people when I started talking about the S word, right? Sex, not seduction, sex, right? The thing we need to understand is that you both, men and women, and I don't care what your gender preference is. That's not what this is about. Men and women both want the same things. They really do. They just tend to want them in a different order. And they use slightly different words for the same thing, right? So in general, because of women's biological programming, the scripts that they're running, things of that nature, they're seeking intimacy, trust, and connection first. Well, actually, it's not first. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then the sex comes. Men are generally looking for connection and sex, and then the intimacy comes after. And one of the reasons that when I used to teach a lot on attraction and dating, I would always try to have a co-ed audience for a couple of reasons. A, it was high comedy for me listening to each of the genders, regardless of their orientation, describe their map of the world, right? And the look of horror on the other gender's face when they realized how their behaviors were being interpreted. We need, as conscious humans, regardless of what your intention is for learning these skills, we need, as conscious human beings, to understand how to bridge the definitions from one side to the other so that both genders, both orientations understand how to interpret what the other people are doing. That was one of the biggest things that made Secret Orgasm Tips such a great success, because the secret to making any form of attraction work is being able to pay attention to what the partner is doing and being able to calibrate if what you're doing is moving them toward intimacy and connection or away from it. Okay. Now, the intimacy, I saw some response on the intimacy word. Okay. The difference between sexual intimacy and emotional intimacy is that it's about being able to open up, feel vulnerable, seen, and heard. It's about knowing that you can open up to this person and share your deepest, most personal thoughts, and it'll be okay. Right? That's what the average woman is looking at. Trust, Aunt Marianne is saying, right? It's that trust idea. Now, this is where a lot of very successful women often have trouble, or very enthusiastic women often have trouble in dating, because when they get out on a date and they see someone who checks the boxes for them, the first thing they do is they open up the floodgates and they just dump their life story. You just want to tell them everything about yourself because you want so badly for them to know you. True, not true, guys, folks? True, not true? Right? Now, here's the thing you need to understand. For most guys, because their order of priority is different, that level of intimacy that quickly is like sipping from a fire hose. And so within 10 or 15 minutes, you're just wanting to open things up and get to know them and move the relationship along. He's thinking you want to get married. And that's why a lot of times you don't hear from him again, right? But guys have a little bit of a different problem. They're so busy trying to impress you. They're so busy trying to impress you that all they do is talk about themselves. And so within 10, 15, 20 minutes, you're bored off your ass because they haven't asked you a single question about you except to like top you. It's almost like a competition. And so by 30 minutes into your date, and again, if I'm not hitting it right, let me know. Within 10 to 30 minutes a date, you're like, okay, when's my bailout call coming? I'll ring up. Oh, hey, I got to run. I'm sorry. I had to cut the date short. My parakeet's having an existential crisis. But we'll talk again. Right? Sound familiar? Yes or yes? Matthew's saying yes. Jax is saying yes. Anybody else? Am I talking to like nobody? What? I've done that, Jax says. Mia says, too familiar. Right? Not experienced that yet? Been a while? Okay. All right. So what if there was a way to get people to just open up and share the most important aspects of their life with you? Take the burden of the conversation off. How many of you have trouble like keeping conversations going or hate small talk? Anybody? Okay. So what if there was a way for us to begin to create these powerful, intense conversations that just open up the floodgates of intimacy, create trust, comfort, and connection, allows both parties to get to know each other in a very powerful, very fulfilling way. And within 20 minutes or so, have this intense level of trust, empathy, and connection. So you know right away if this person's, would that be nice? We're going to do that. We're going to learn that today. Okay. It's called the 3 Magic Questions Protocol. Okay. And if you just get the rudiments of it, you'll be able to open up a conversation with anyone, anytime, anywhere. 80% of the talking will be done by the other person. And they'll think you're the most fascinating person they've ever met. Is that a good place to be? Yes or no? Cool. All right. So 3 Magic Questions Protocol is something we call outer game. So when we talk about inner game, we're talking about who we are, what we want, what our rules are, right? Our understanding of relationships and social dynamics, right? That's all inner game. And we have to have that right. Because if we don't have that, it's going to be very hard to use techniques. And I want to bring us back to the loop I opened earlier. Many people go through the world thinking that the soulmate they get or the partners they meet is some aspect of destiny. And if that's what you believe, this will work for you too. But one of the things I want you to understand is that many people go through the world with the erroneous belief that if they have to do something or they have to engineer aspects of their relationship, that somehow that relationship isn't real. You know what I'm saying? If I have to do these techniques to get this person or to stay with this person, then it can't be a real relationship because I had to do things to engineer it. Anybody ever? Jake says, I feel that, right? Here's the thing we need to understand. Let's take that idea. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people have bought a lot of books on relationships that have a lot of techniques in them and they still don't use them. Why? Because people feel, especially in this context, this is why you got to really pay attention. There are things you don't know, and there's methodologies for everything, but we feel like things should just flow. Well, let's take that and apply it to baking a cake. I put all the ingredients on the countertop, throw them all in a pan, throw them in the oven, turn the oven on, say, well, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. Would you do that? Or would you get out a recipe, maybe compare recipes, and measure out each component in the right order, put it in, and get the cake you want? But you see, the former example is what most people do when it comes to finding a partner, especially long-term partners. They think, well, if it's not, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. Yes and no. One of the things that we know about from law of attraction and from various forms of manifestation training is that the more you're clear on what you want and how you know you're getting it, the easier it is for your system to put you in the situations, circumstances, and events that lead to finding the right partner. Now, once you're in that place, how do you signal that you're available? How do you signal or attract the person who catches your interest to find out if they're actually as good beneath the surface as they appear above the surface? That's outer game, right? You need techniques for that. You need techniques. So there's 2 aspects to what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about inner game. We're going to talk about outer game. I want to share with you something we call the mating dance. And this goes to the how do you know question. How do you know when somebody is attracted to you? So let me go back to my OneNote really quick, so you might want to take a screenshot of some of these things. So this is outer game. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is understanding the body language of attraction. Okay, we're going to talk about physiology and why that's important. We're going to talk about gestural alphabets, proxemic alphabets, and what we call tells and indicators of interest. These are things that you look for or that become apparent in your awareness that let you know somebody's interested in you, or that you can use to let people know that you're interested in them. The next thing we need to talk about is how to control your state. And this is actually why everyone's dating profile is a lie. Now, I know that's a very provocative thing to say, so let's talk about that for a moment, shall we? How many people here have ever used an online dating profile? Anybody? Type it in the chat. Right. Okay. So maybe you've gone to Match.com or Plenty of Fish or whatever it is. You pull someone up whose picture looks interesting, and you're reading the thing. I want someone who is brave, loyal, courteous, kind, thrifty, and obedient. Right. And so you're automatically looking for a fucking Boy Scout. Right. Drinks red wine, must love dogs. Right. Here's what I'm telling you. Now, we all know that people sometimes Photoshop themselves or put pictures of themselves online that may not quite represent how they currently are. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the copy that they write. Here's the thing you need to understand. No matter what laundry list of qualities and attributes they're listing, male or female, doesn't really matter. None of that becomes true. None of that becomes useful until one element is satisfied. They're having fun with you. If they're not having fun with you, nothing else matters. Controlling your state, moving through the world, being in a fun, playful, curious, explorational, adventurous state is the fastest, most powerful way to become irresistibly attractive to anyone you want. Okay? It's about your state. It's about your inner game. It's about getting your head and your heart right. So how do you do that? There's two ways. There's two super cool ways that you can control your state. Control your posture, control your breathing, right? If you try to think your way into a positive state, you're going to burn up all of your SRUs and all your blood sugar, and you're going to wind up mentally tired. But if you change your posture and change your breathing, you'll go into a fun, playful, explorational state. You have to focus on, you have to take sex off the table. You have to take the quest for intimacy off the table. You have to focus on fun. Fun first. If you focus on the fun, people are going to open up very, very powerfully, very, very quickly. And you'll enjoy dating more, right? The biggest problem that we have when it comes to going up and interacting with people is, we're already running movies in our head that they're going to reject us. Right? For most guys, when they see, this is what, I don't know if you can see my whole body. I'll just expand my window a little bit. I teach a lot of hypnosis classes. And when I see guys getting ready to approach someone they're attracted to, it's like somebody just psyching themselves up to do an instant induction. It looks like this. She doesn't like me anyway, right? So what's literally happening is they have to psych themselves up, and then the movies, the shitty movies are running in their head too, and they start, and then the movie comes and they say, oh, they're just going to reject me, so I'm not even going to bother approaching. They've literally rejected themselves before they've entered the conversation. Now, that's not an issue that most females experience. It's almost exclusively a male thing, that in my experience. Women are a little bit worried about. See, Jonah's like, huh? How's that? That's the average inner game work for the average male. Most women, especially, and most women get approached, even if you're not super attractive, you get approached a stupid amount of times every day by men who say the exact same thing over and over and over again. The problem that most ladies have that have talked to me is that it's not that they're afraid you'll approach. It's that they're afraid you won't get the hint that they're not interested and just keep fucking talking. Right? They're afraid you won't go away. So their problem isn't getting into conversations, or their worry isn't getting into conversations. It's getting out. Ladies, would you say that's true? Without lapsing into bitch mode? How do you politely extract yourself from that intervention or that interaction without becoming the ice queen? Yeah, exactly. This is the problem. This is, again, see, most women, when I talk about, and again, it may have been changed in the last few years since I've taught this material, but when I was really actively, working in this field, women had no clue that men were more afraid of being rejected than anything else. And men had no clue that there was a problem. They just thought all women were bitches, right? They didn't realize that by the time most women hit the ice queen or bitch mode, you've exhausted every single subtle way you know to signal that person the conversation's over, right? I make a joke, and a lot of times when I teach this class, it sounds like I'm bagging on men, and I'm not. I'm trying to educate them, but I want to do it in a fun, playful way, because it's the subtleties. It's the subtleties that escape most men without training, right? There's a gap in female socialization. They have most women generate signals that are only perceptible by other women. Right? You could be one guy standing in a group of women, right? And at some imperceptible subliminal message or signal, every woman in that group knows the conversation is over and they're gone. And our hapless hero is like, well, shit, I'm alone. How did that happen? Right? Why? It's because the signals that are the body language signals, the social cues that are obvious to women are far too subtle for the average male who doesn't have training, either through experience or through an actual course. It's not your fault, guys. Men, it's not your fault. Ladies, it's not your fault. The game is rigged. Right? It's not your fault that these things are happening, but it is your responsibility for cleaning it up. Okay. So over the course of an attraction mastery, I'm constantly teaching women how to put in the middle ground where you've got subtle, perceptible bitch mode, right? Sometimes you need to go into bitch mode to get people to go away. But if there were ways to end the conversation and still preserve the approacher's self-esteem, wouldn't that be a better way to do things? True or not true? Okay. So that's some of the things that we help to teach women in attraction mastery. One of the things we need to do for men is we need to have them be able to understand subtle body language cues and be able to generate a conversation and understand where they're at in that intervention. Okay. We also need them to understand that most women actually don't mind being approached as long as the person who is doing the approaching is more socially aware and adept. We tend to like people who kind of demonstrate a stronger awareness of social dynamics and body language cues. And if they're fun, absolutely, Sharon. And that's the whole point. And that started this whole round of focus with me, is that if the people you're interacting with aren't having a good time, then they are going to look for ways to exit the interaction. Hold on a second. My lighting is getting really weird, so I want to fix this. This is weird. Is that? Oh, wait, maybe it's my window. Okay, that's better. That was the light from the window was messing with my filter. Anyway, so is this helpful so far? I mean, is this giving you guys food for thought? Right? You see, there's a lot of different things at play, but you see, each side is moving through the world, projecting their inner reality onto everyone around us. Every woman in the planet is moving through the world, projecting their lexicon of body language cues, social sensitivities, things of that nature onto every male, and assuming that the way that they do things and the way they become aware of things is the way that men do. And they make men wrong because they don't operate from that same system. But men do the same thing. Men move through the world thinking that what another guy would think is subtle and cool is how a woman would think things are subtle and cool and less aggressive. So you're both doing the same process. It's called projection. Okay? It's called projection. How many people know what projection is? If you don't, you should look it up. Okay? Because 90% of your success in relationships will be about managing projection, yours and your partner's. Projection is a phenomena that we're all going to do. Because you're learning about projection from the inside out, you will now have an ability to manage it better than 99.99% of the people you interact with, unless they've had this training. If you want to become the greatest lover any partner's ever had, you just have to master projection. If you want to be the most attractive, charismatic, fascinating person a person's ever met, you just have to master projection. Okay? It starts with you, though. But the thing is, you don't want to be charismatic or ultra attractive to just anyone. You want to be attractive to the people you choose to attract. One of the more famous pickup artists of my time was a guy named David D'Angelo, also known as Evan Pagan. He teaches a lot of internet marketing and coaching and stuff. But he started in the dating and attraction niches. And he said something very, very important that I think is true. Needs an addendum, but I think it's important for all of you to understand. He said, attraction is not a choice. Okay? Most people, I say most, don't wake up and say, I'm going to be attracted to that person right there. Right? And all of a sudden they are. Right? Most of us are just moving through the world, minding our own business. Someone comes across our radar and it's like, oh my God. Right? And you just focused on that person and you just can't stop thinking about them and finding as many reasons as you can to get their attention and spend time. Right? For how many is that true? Would you say that's your experience? Haven't had an OMG moment in a while? Well, we can fix that. Yeah. Right? Attraction is not a choice. And that's true enough to be true. However, being attractive and attracting other people is a choice. Being able to attract other people, that is a choice. You can choose who you seek to attract and have a good chance of succeeding if you understand a few basic principles. First of all, you got to get your inner game right. You got to get rid of your baggage. You got to understand the psychology of attraction and how it works. You got to understand the phases that people go through from stranger to connection to intimacy, right? You've got to be able to apply that to the outer game of attraction, which are the specific techniques at the specific phases of the relationship interaction or the relating interaction that move you from stranger to comfort to connection to intimacy to arousal, to desire and arousal, and then consummation. You need to understand that process and understand it's not always linear, right? But if you understand a few basic ideas, you can navigate that much more effortlessly and efficiently. Is that useful? Okay. How about our YouTubers? Are YouTubers with us here or not? I don't know if we suddenly have a loss of connection. Okay. So let's talk about something we're going to cover in part 3. This is what they call the psychology of attraction. There are 5 phases to the psychology of attraction. Actually, let's talk about the mating dance first. Now let's talk about psychology of attraction. So first and foremost, there are 5 phases or 5 aspects to the psychology of attraction. The first one is you've got to get their attention. Okay. To do that, you've got to be somebody, or you've got to project an aspect of yourself that will cause them to orient on you, right? You have to profile who you want to attract. In other words, you have to look at, okay, who am I? What are my beliefs? What are my values? What is my love language? What is my attachment style, right? What are the things I love to do? What are the things I'm passionate about? What are the things I hate? Where do I like to hang out? Right? You have to factor in all these things if you want to create what I call your ideal partner template. Now, depending on whether you're looking for a short-term relationship or something long-term, the robustness of that profile may be very small, or it may be very, very extensive. We cover this in depth in Soulmate Secrets. We want to know what we want from a relationship, how we know we're getting it. And then we have to think about, okay, who is my ideal partner profile? What is my ideal partner template? Right? You can't begin to create that really until you know who you are and what you want. So this is something we spend a lot of time on in the Soulmate Secrets course, right? We call it the life values inventory. It's something you really need to understand. And the way we start to create this is, if I were going to be by myself, if I were going to be solo the rest of my life, what kind of life would I want to have that would be the most fulfilling, thrilling, and satisfying lifestyle humanly possible? That it wouldn't matter if I had a partner or not, I'd still have the best life imaginable. That's where you start. Now, why is that? It's because when you can create a life plan or a profile that encompasses that, the people that you attract into your life will tend to mirror that vibration and those behaviors. And so what you'll get is you'll get a relationship based on mutual attraction, trust, and connection rather than codependency. Most people move through the world looking for somebody to complete them, somebody to make all their shit better, right? And so you wind up being a therapist or this victim savior relationship, which nobody really wants, but most people wind up into some way, right? So the first thing that has to happen is you have to create a life that's just plain awesome, as if you're going to do it by yourself. And this again brings us to an aspect of inner game that we need to talk about, which is scarcity and value. You have to remember that the more value you place on something, and the scarce, or actually, let me rephrase that. The easier something is to get, the less value it has in your life. Okay, this is something you're going to see in marketing all the time, right? The less a person has to work to get it, the less they value it. And I know none of you would ever do this, but how many times have you gone on to FileShare, downloaded a ton of stuff, and you haven't looked at it yet? It's still sitting on your hard drive, right? The harder we have to work for something, the more value we give it. And so when you're starting to move through the world, you want to create the perception of value about you in another person. Now, how does that relate to creating a lifestyle that is truly fulfilling for you if you were solo or single? It's very simple. The less important a partner is to you, the more important you become to them. This is one of those principles you're going to hate. You're not going to want to hear it. But the person who is more able to walk away from a relationship has the most control over the relationship. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure, control issues aside, none of you logged on to this webinar today to have more randomness and chaos in your life. Would that be true? You all logged in here to what? To take more control, to have more choice and freedom, and find the people you want to be with. Well, here's an ugly truth about attraction. The person who is least invested in the relationship has the upper hand in the relationship. Now, I'm not saying we should have the upper hand, but let's be honest. Most of the time when we lose a relationship is because we gave up control of that relationship to the other person, right? And there's a whole psychology behind this. Okay. And I don't care what your gender preference is. I don't care what your choices are, right? It's about dynamics. You see, one of the things that happens is as two people move towards intimacy, the boundaries between self and other, I become us, and then we, and then you just identified with the relationship. The more identified you become with that relationship, the more control it has over you. That's why many times when someone's relationship crumbles, they tend to lose their job and their friends, and everything that supported that identity starts to fray and break apart because their identity has been damaged. Same thing happens in jobs. When somebody has a job that they've fully identified themselves with and that job goes away, all of a sudden their relationships start to suffer, their friendships start to suffer, and they start engaging in very self-destructive behaviors because they don't know who they are anymore. Okay, so there's a process of identification that happens in a relationship that you have to manage. It's going to happen but you have to understand it so you can create powerful boundaries and protect those boundaries and call people on their bullshit. That goes to inner game and the profile, what you want, what you believe, what you'll accept, what you won't accept. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I don't care. Again, like I said, I don't care what your gender preferences are. This is how I've come to learn the hard. I've been married now going on almost 20 years, right? So maybe I'm doing something right. And my wife was the prize at her school. So I could tell you some stories. Is your identity your projection? In many ways, it is, Sharon. Let's talk a little bit about that. Every human being on the planet is moving through the world with a checklist that they use to determine what is the very best anything. It's all context dependent. All right, if you've ever heard me talk about the emotional bonding checklist, how many people have ever heard me talk about the emotional bonding checklist? Just type it in the chat. Okay, if you've ever heard me talk about this, that's what I mean. Now, here's the thing. Human beings have checklists for the perfect lover, the perfect husband, perfect wife, perfect mother, perfect everything. And they're always, always, always projecting those checklists out into the world. They're projecting that checklist out into the world. Now, I won't tell you how they do that yet. But if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you'll start reading people's projections every which way but loose. And it makes life really easy and in many ways predictable. Okay. So first step in the psychology of attraction is profiling. You got to know who you are and who the partner you want to attract is. If you don't have that, you don't know where to start. You don't know where to hang out. You don't know what's a good environment for those kinds of people, right? So profiling. The next thing is going to be emotional appeal. You have to present yourself in a way that's emotionally appealing, not just physically appealing, but emotionally appealing to the other person, right? That goes to your profile and their projections. The more you understand how to read their projections, the more rapidly you can match what they emotionally want and desire. And when somebody is emotionally attracted to you, it doesn't matter what you look like. But again, going back to the very tip of the iceberg, you got to bring the fun. You got to be having fun. You got to control your state, and then you got to interact with them. Okay. So the first outcome in any interaction going forward is focus on the fun. Take sex off the agenda, take intimacy off the agenda, let the fun and the playfulness roll. And when you do that, every date you go on, every conversation you have will be fulfilling for you. And it will actually open the gates to deeper stuff. From there, what you want to do is you want to create social status, or what we call prizability. In some systems would call this credibility. You want to be viewed by this person as someone who has immense social value, or at least a higher social value than they do. One of the ways that you do that is by being sexually confident, by showing a grasp of social etiquette and how to navigate social dynamics, right? And there's many behaviors that allow you to project that out into the world, right? In Attraction Mastery and Killer Influence, we actually give you 4 body language metaframes that you can step into. And as you move through the world, you will emanate a sense of confidence and certainty and fun and playfulness and charisma that will allow you to build and demonstrate that level of social comfort and social skill. And people will just want to defer to you as a byproduct of the training. Okay. These are things that are basic to what we're doing, but that would be something that you would want to do. Now, another way that you can begin to raise your social status is by telling stories. And this is one of the most important factors in creating relationships, is learning how to create and tell stories that move people through the attraction process. Now, here's the thing. In any kind of dating, mating, or relating context, that's going to happen as a natural byproduct of the interaction, right? But if you understand a few principles behind it, which is where we're going, you can make that process even better. You can make it even faster, more fulfilling and satisfying and thrilling to the other person, so that they'll want to see you again. In fact, what will happen many times is you may have 20 minutes to talk to somebody, and 40 minutes later, they're still talking and they don't want you to leave. right? It's one of those cool things. So this ability of being viewed as valuable in their world, right? Once you have that, it leads you into the next phase, which is validation and affirmation. When that person interacts with you, not only do they feel heard and understood, they feel accepted, they feel approved of, right? When you create that, you create a bond with another human being that they don't want to give up because it's exciting, it's new, it's something they've been searching for their whole life. They don't want to give it up. Okay. When you put these dynamics together, you create a very, very powerful bond with a person. But throughout the process, you as the operator, male or female, remember this, always be testing. You always have to be testing, what is this person communicating to me versus what I'm looking for in a partner? Does it match? If it matches, keep going. If it doesn't match, eject or in some other way, distance yourself from this person. Does that make sense? Talk to me. So Sierra was asking, what is it, please? Yes. Okay. Questions about what I've talked about so far? Yes and no. Can you explain more testing? Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that you'll discover is that when people start to move through the stages of attraction and relating, moving into relationships, there will be tests for control of the relationship, right? And these in common seduction world pickup parlance, those are called shit tests. Remember that most, again, I'm coming from a very classic male-female archetype world. So you need to kind of, people want people that are strong and confident and aren't going to take shit and call them on their bullshit. Many females, and I don't care if you're a biological one or not, many females need that level of strength in order to feel safe and to surrender. Otherwise, they're the ones that are always having to take care of things, and that gets old, right? So sometimes there's always one person who tends to be the more masculine or alpha in the relationship. Sometimes that changes from context to context. Like with my wife and I are two very strong alpha type of personalities, but there are certain contexts where I just turn it over to her because that's her domain. And there are certain things where she just defaults to me because I know what the fuck I'm doing, right? So sometimes it's more static, sometimes it's fluid, right? But it's a choice. So we need to be able to keep our crap together, so to speak, so that people can let themselves go and feel safe to do that, right? But the idea is, by profiling yourself and profiling your ideal partner, you know what kind of relationship dynamics you're sorting for, so that when you move through the phases of a relationship, you can set the boundaries and the rules. And you have to set boundaries and rules in your relationship. One of the biggest failing points three of the biggest failing points that I see in most relationships: A, no clear-cut rules and boundaries. Miscommunication, rampant miscommunication because of a misunderstanding of projection. And last, bad sex, or little to no sex. Those are kind of the things that when I peel back the layers of people in relationships, that's what they come down to. Okay. Some of that sounds a little weird, I know, but what about quiet times, like driving in a car? You're going to have to elaborate on that, Sharon. I don't know where you're going with that. Okay. So understanding psychology of attraction, right? So we have profiling, we have identification, right? We have emotional appeal. We have prizing or status, credibility. We have affirmation or validation. These are the things that if you build these into your relationship, will give you a tremendously more fulfilling and satisfying, comforting level of control in the relationship. Well, that's the idea. You want to be able to have a kind of relationship with someone where it's okay to not say anything, but you don't normally get there through silence. You get there through the other forms of communication: body language, nonverbal cues, and the stories that you tell each other, the level of intimacy that you share, right? Now, here's why projection is so important. People are always going to be projecting their values, their rules onto the people around them. And what you want to be doing as an expert in attraction is being able to figure out where you guys overlap and where you don't, and how much you have to change to be with that person. Okay, so does that make sense? Is this useful? Okay, let's talk about, I've only got a few minutes before I have to go into phase 2, but I want to start with one of the most powerful tools that we have for creating these kinds of connections. Okay, we don't have time to talk about approaching and the confidence stuff. Well, maybe we'll have time for it on part 3 of the webinar. But one of the things I want to talk about is how to go from complete stranger to trusted friend and partner in as little as 20 minutes. Would that be a helpful process? Yes or yes? Okay. So let me pull this up on my my screen, or I may have to actually open a different notebook, because that's what I forgot to do. All right, I'm going to teach you 3 magic questions protocol. Hold on a second. Oh, there we go. Traction mastery. That'll work. Okay. So I love this particular technique. I learned it in a detraction context, and I've used it every which way but loose. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover part 1 of the 3 magic questions protocol. And then, if with your permission, I'm going to teach you parts 2 and 3 in phase 3 of the webinar. So is it still okay for me to show you where these techniques can be found in the whole system? Is that it's still okay for me to do that with you? Yes or yes? Type yes in the chat. Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about the 3 magic questions protocol. And this is literally how to make people like, trust, and even love you in as little as 20 minutes. Now, 3 magic questions is a conversational framework. It's a framework that you apply to an interaction that allows you to accomplish some very important psycho-emotional milestones. It creates several very distinct effects in the mind that you're doing this, of the person that you're doing this with. Now, notice what I said. In the mind and the body of the person you're doing this with. This is not something you do to someone. This is something you do with someone. Now, if you follow the protocol in a very, very short amount of time, it will allow 2 people who are complete strangers to rapidly generate pleasurable, stimulating conversations that trigger deep levels of emotional attraction, trust, and bonding. 3 magic questions is a code for 3 categories of question. Let me say 3 categories of question. Each category of the question stimulates goes from a more superficial to a more primal and deeper level of the subject's mind. The byproduct of this training and this technique is it creates intense bonding and self-disclosure in a short amount of time. Now, if you've been on some of my other webinars, you've heard me talk about the echo technique. How many people have heard me talk about the echo technique? Okay. If you have not, just understand that the most powerful words that any human being can hear are the words that just came out of their mouth. Okay? Bar none. Whatever just came out of their mouth in the last 5 seconds is the most powerful thing they can hear in that moment. This 3 magic question framework utilizes the echo technique within it. And when you do that, it literally forces a person to pay complete and total attention to you. Okay? Would that be a good thing? To have somebody to so completely hold somebody's attention that they couldn't think of anything else. Okay? One of my teachers once taught me, and I found this to be true, that attention is the currency of relationships. Ladies, if you want your man to stay loyal, give him the kind of attention he wants and needs. Ladies or men, if you want your ladies to be loyal, give them the kind of attention they want and need. People who are interested in same-sex relationships, give your partner the kind of attention they want and need, not the kind you want them to have. Let me say that again. Give them the kind of attention they want to have, not the kind you want them to have. The more you make it about the other person, if they're normally socialized, decent human beings, they will move heaven and earth to do the same for you, provided they know how. Did you hear what I said? Did it register? Okay. How do you do that? First word is understanding projection. Second is this protocol here. Okay. This allows you as the operator, and I think tactically when it comes to relationships, because if you're not thinking tactically, you're thinking wrong. It allows the operator to simultaneously attract and analyze the subject to make a qualifying determination as to the subject's suitability or unsuitability for deeper levels of intimacy in relationships or interactions. So let me talk about this. Lest you think that this technique was created for men to use on women, as is many seduction techniques. It is not. This technique was created for women to use on men. So that in 20 minutes, you knew more about them than their best friends did. They were simultaneously becoming way, way attracted to them, and they were giving you all the information you needed right then and there to know if they were a hell yes or a hell no. So you didn't waste the next 3 to 6 weeks on crash diets, new wardrobes, hairdos, and dating. Okay. I modified this so everybody could use it with everybody, right? And that's why I want you to really master this process, because when you do, you'll be able to strike up conversations with anyone, anytime, anywhere, in any situation or circumstance, and they will love you physically and or metaphorically, and they will want to spend more time with you. Even if you have no interest in pursuing a romantic relationship, you'll be able to sort the people you interact with much more powerfully, much more cleanly. Now, I'm going to warn you, when you apply this technique, you will be attracting far more people than you ever thought you could. The downside of that is you will be saying no to more people than you ever thought you would, because they don't fit you. They don't check your boxes. You understand that? So you've got to have the intestinal fortitude to state your boundaries and say, I don't think this is working. I really think you're a great person. I just don't think that this is going to be a fit for us, right? And you have to find your ways to say that without destroying a person's self-esteem. But you will, in fact, generate these powerful connections with anyone you use this with. You just have to always, this is why I say, always be testing. When you're going through the process, you constantly got to be measuring, are the responses you're getting matching what you want, or are they mismatching what you want? And you have to evaluate where that is. Does that make sense? Okay. I think I must have gotten taken out of the YouTube chat for some reason. Anyway, all right, so let's look at the first part of this, okay? So the first level of 3 magic questions, a couple of guidelines, first of all. First of all, when you use this, never ask a question that can be answered with a yes or no. Never ask a question that could be answered with a yes or no. So if I'm at a sports bar or a wedding reception or a networking function, and I say to that person, do you come here often? They go, no, or yes. Conversation's over. We have to start over. A better question would be, so I'm curious, how often do you come to these things? Do you like them? Right? Now you've got an open-ended question that ends with an explanation, a description, or a story that you can start to harvest a person's language and use the echo technique back. Remember, you want to be asking the using the echo technique through the entire process. You always want to ask a question that requires an opinion, a story, or an explanation. Because the more they talk, the more powerful you become. Okay. Level 1 is about location occasion. Okay. Location occasion is all about who they are, who they're with, and why they're there. So if I'm at a wedding reception, for example, and I say, hey, what do you think of the band? Right? I've just opened a conversation. Now, did I ask, are you here with somebody? Do you have a boyfriend? No, because what happens a lot of times when we approach people, especially in a context where a lot of hitting on goes on, people automatically paint you with a sexual agenda or a hitting on agenda. So when you ask non-threatening questions, it neutralizes their defensiveness. And it does the one important thing that level 1 questions are designed to do. It gets them out of their head and into the world with you. Most people are moving through the world in what we call a dissociated internal mental state. They're in their head. They're thinking about picking up their laundry. They're taking the dog to the vet, making sure the kid gets to their soccer games. They're doing everything but being present in real time with you. Location and occasion questions are simple, easy, non-threatening ways that shift their focus of attention from inside their head in real time interacting with you. Once you have their attention now you can begin a conversation and an interaction that moves them through the stages of interest, attention, desire, and arousal. Okay? Or action, as the case may be. Okay? So the only purpose for a level 1 question is to get them out of their head and into the world. Right? I was teaching a class called Rapid Attraction Secrets many, many years ago. And one of my students from my martial arts class happened to be in there. And I was talking about this. And he went out to a sports bar that night, walked up to a girl he thought was attractive. And this is how he opened. Hey, what do you think of the drink specials? 6 months later, they're getting engaged and then they got married. Right? Why? Because they open in a non-threatening way that gives a person an opportunity to talk about things without revealing or creating too much vulnerability. The vulnerability will open up as a natural byproduct of the conversation and the system that you're applying. Does that make sense? Even if it doesn't, that's how it works. You guys with me so far? Okay. So, good. All right. So, the other thing you want to do is you want to begin to do what we use conversational softeners. If I walk up to somebody and I say, hey, what do you think of the band? Well, depending on how much social status I have or how physically attractive I am, how much chutzpah I'm generating, that might be okay. But for a lot of people, that's really invasive. It's like, well, who the fuck are you? Right? So one of the things that helps to make the power of this so much more palatable and easy to deploy in normal conversations is something we call linguistic softeners. So softeners are like reasons why. Like if you think we call them preframes. A preframe is, this is why I'm about to ask you what I'm about to ask you, or this is why I'm about to tell you what I'm about to tell you. So instead of going up and saying, hey, what do you think of the band? Or hey, what are the drink specials? It would look and sound something like this. Hey, I was wondering, what do you think of the band? Hey, I'm curious, what do you think of that centerpiece? Right? I hear a lot of bands in different environments. I'm curious, what's your favorite band? So do you see how I'm always padding, or I'm giving a person a reason why I'm asking or telling them what I'm about to ask them or tell them? This allows you to deploy very, very strong, powerful techniques with a person and not make it sound like an interrogation or you're a drill sergeant or something like that. Okay, so softening is really important. We cover this mega in depth. It's something we teach in Killer Influence. It's something we teach in Attraction Mastery. This is one of those skills that you can't overuse or you can't overlearn. Okay, So this allows us to walk up and begin opening conversations with a simple, hey, I was wondering something. What do you think of that band? Or I'm curious, do you know what the drinks, which are the best drink specials here tonight? So you always want to be asking questions that allow a person to answer you with an opinion, a story, or an explanation. Now, when that person answers you, you are going to apply what we call the Master Echo Formula. The Master Echo Formula, again, you'll learn this in Attraction Mastery, you'll learn this in Killer Influence. The Master Attraction Formula is you echo their words, you validate their response, you soften and echo their words, and you echo their words and you ask again. So I missed one here, hold on again. Or ask again. So if somebody says, hey, you go up to somebody and you say to somebody, so I'm curious, what do you think of the band? I said, well, you know, I've heard better, but they're not too bad. Oh, they're not too bad. And what ones have you heard that were better? Right. So that's it. Now, what I've done is I've given them their exact words. I changed the order just a little bit, but because I used the exact words that they gave me, it goes right into their neurology and signals identification and sameness. It literally says to the deepest level of their nervous system, I heard this person heard you and they're just like you. And now all of a sudden you have their undivided attention, because that rarely happens. And now the longer you keep that process going, the more they're going to open up. Now I challenge you to go out and test this. Find people who can't escape, like waiters and bartenders, be respectful, and just deploy the echo technique and or the 3 magic questions with them, and notice how much time they spend with you compared to other customers. Now, that's why I say be respectful, because what will happen is you'll trigger such a desire to spend time with you in this person that they will often ignore their other clients. Okay, so please understand the power of this, use it with respect, but use it. You don't have to believe it, just go do it. Okay, are you guys with me so far? Okay, so here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to take some time and go over with you some programs I've put together that give you the access to the entire Attraction Mastery and Unlimited Lover system. When I come back, I want to pick up with 3 magic questions, and then we can talk about how to be the best lover anyone's ever had, how to navigate relationships. We can talk about whatever sticking points that you have that you want to work through. We can make this your training. Is that fair? Is that okay? Yeah, okay, cool. We're good? All right, excellent. So without further ado, and with your permission, let's talk about what I put together for you today. I'd like to share with you the Unlimited Lover Maximum Attraction Mastery Program, top secret skills for dating, mating, and relating. I've literally just opened the vault, pulled back the curtain, and give you in this program the most powerful attraction and relationship management tools and formulas I've ever come across. Tools that allowed me to become one of the top 20 pickup artists of 2003 through seductionlayer.com, that have allowed me to become a master of influence and persuasion, have influenced my marketing, and have allowed me to help literally thousands of people. Hold on a second. I'm sorry, my mouse is really sensitive. So the Unlimited Lover program is all about helping you take your love life to the next level. It's about gaining the skills to become instantly more attractive, fascinating, and irresistibly charming, to becoming unstoppably confident and truly self-assured. It's about getting rid of the emotional baggage that you've accumulated from failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship, and that you tend to bring into your new relationships that continually cause you to have the same results. Like I said, if you've ever been dating the same person with a different face, that's what I'm talking about. It's about avoiding the people you don't want and finding the people you do want, attracting them and keeping them. It's about learning how to effectively cheat-proof your relationship, becoming your partner's greatest lover, creating a relationship that only gets better over time, leading to better communication, better love, and of course, sexuality is a huge factor in an ideal relationship, right? It's about winning the game of love and becoming more charming, charismatic, and irresistible. If these are things that are important to you, could be the most important program that you've ever been given access to. It's amazing. Here's what I've put together for you. Now, this offer is only good for today, February 12th, 2024, 11:59 p.m. Okay. So if you're on, and again, it's 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're in some other part of the world, don't worry, you got some time. Okay. So the Unlimited Lover Secrets, How to Master Your Inner Game. This is where we start with the Unlimited Lover Attraction Mastery Formula. It's about getting your inner game under control. So to get you started on that, we've bundled in here the Self-Mastery Supercharger. This is something that's going to allow you to profile yourself, decide what aspects of your identity, your personality that you want to change, and using these 7 phases, systematically change them. Now, people say, well, David, you were just talking about attraction, dating, sexuality, all those things. Why are you giving me the Self-Mastery Supercharger? Now, it may be obvious to some of you that Self-Mastery Supercharger is about inner game. But what most of you don't know is that even though the Self-Mastery Supercharger and the Identity by Design system became one of my premier hypnotherapy training certifications, it started out specifically as an inner game training process and reprogramming process for aspiring pickup artists. It was originally designed to give people who wanted to be more successful in dating, sexuality, relationships, and everything pertaining to that, the upper hand, to become the person that you wanted to be, to drain out the head trash, the heart trash, and all the other emotional baggage, so that you could be the person that you want to become and move through the world with that confidence and certainty and radiating that charisma that makes people pay attention. So this 7-phase Identity by Design formula is actually designed for what we're doing today. What we discovered, though, was that when you apply this on an average human being, the scope and the range of change wasn't just about their love life. Their work habits changed. Their social skills changed. Their relationship statuses changed. They started making more money. They started having more friends. They started feeling more fulfillment. They started taking more chances and actually living their life as an adventurer instead of a passenger. And that's what it's about. It's about taking charge of your inner world so that the outer world is easy. So we're going to move you through these 7 phases. How to clear your unconscious negativity that you didn't even know you had, emotions, beliefs, what have you. It's a $297 value. We're going to remove the unconscious safety rules that are keeping you stuck. You guys have experienced this left and right, left and right. You see somebody who checks all the boxes for you. You see the opportunity. You know exactly what to say, exactly when to say it, exactly how to say it, and you can't pull the trigger. You can't move your feet. Why? Because your unconscious mind, because of the emotional pain that you went through in previous relationships, because of the rejections or the people ignoring your boundaries that you experienced, decided, I'm going to make sure that this person never gets hurt again. I know if I just flip this switch so they can never get in a relationship, they can never get hurt. They can never get rejected. And that's why you can't pull the trigger. If you've ever had a feeling or a behavior or an issue that went away and then comes back, you've got safety issues that you need to unpack and attack. We're going to show you systematically how to find them and remove them. You know that little voice in your head that's always telling, don't go there. She's going to reject you. She's going to make you feel like shit. She's going to kick you metaphorically or literally in the balls. Or, the little voice says, oh, don't go near him. He's bad news, right? Even when he's a good guy, right? He's not good enough for you. You're not good enough for him or whatever. That little head voice, the voice in your head that just said what voice? We're going to show you how to change that. We're going to show you how to change that into a voice that builds you up and gives you all the reasons why you deserve things and to keep you safe and moving towards the right kind of partners. We're going to show you how that works. Pardon me. What if you could move through the world in a more playful, curious, explorational state? You think life would be better? You think you'd have more opportunities? That's exactly what the next phase of this, the 4 pillars of personal power and success. These are 4 default driver states that when you move through the world, you will move through the world like a winner. You will see the world as a fun, playful, curious, exciting place full of opportunities to win. We're going to teach you how to install those states so that you can activate them on demand, anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, and how they'll eventually become default states within you, where you just move through the world feeling this way as a natural byproduct of your training, right? And we're going to teach you how to systematically move all the baggage, all the negativity from past memories, traumatic experiences, traumatic relationships, the whole 9 yards, right? We're going to teach this to you in such a way that when you look back on the past, you only remember it in ways that empower you, that make you feel good about yourself, that make your life better, so that you're excited about moving forward. Okay? And then we're going to teach you how to install inside of yourself the traits, qualities, and characteristics of anyone who you admire, anyone who you aspire to be like, or whose qualities you want to have more of for yourself. We're going to give you the master keys for doing exactly that. It's a $297 value, but literally, this is how you can install your very own personal blueprint and the skills and attributes that you need to make that blueprint of success happen. We're going to include, as part of this, the Identity by Design course manual. So you have all the techniques, you have all the principles, how they work, how to change them, things of that nature. So you can actually diagram your processes and know exactly how these things work for yourself. Total value is $2,497. But as you can probably guess, there's a lot more to this package than meets the eye. For those of you who grab your package today before the end of the webinar, we're going to include one of our most powerful and important classes ever. People absolutely love this class. We don't teach it that often. We're going to give you access to our Soulmate Secrets Masterclass, how to get the love you want the way you want it. This is going to take you step by step by step through how to figure out what your life values are. What are the most important things to you in life, right? How to profile your ideal partner so that you can begin to, just to put yourself in places, locations, and opportunities to attract that success. We're going to teach you about the biochemistry of relationships so that you understand that rush you feel at the beginning of the relationship will always fade, because there's a hormone dump that happens at the beginning of a relationship, and it fades over time as other hormones take their place that lead to deeper, longer lasting romantic love. Most people don't realize that one of the reasons that they go from relationship to relationship to relationship is because that chemical rush fades in the first 4 to 6 weeks. And they think that because those chemicals are changing, that the relationship is getting worse, and it's not. What's happening is you're moving into a different phase, and so other hormones are taking over. If you don't understand how and why that works, you're going to make bad decisions both during the beginning parts of the relationship and after. Right? So you need to understand how that works. We're going to teach you how to remove all the baggage from all the different relationships, how to improve the communication skills that you need between you and your partner, how to manage change in that relationship, how to be the best lover your partner's ever had, but understanding the difference between sensuality, sexuality, and great sex and things of that nature. Communication styles. These are all things that we need to understand so that we can begin to become the person who can attract the best soulmate possible. Now, the other thing I wanted to caution you about, and I mentioned this earlier when people were asking about soulmates, remember that your soulmate is designed to complete you, but not the way you think. Your soulmate, and this is, again, I've studied a lot of mystical traditions, and the concept of soulmates always comes up. The true definition of a spiritual soulmate is someone who challenges you, who forces you through conflict and communication to be a better version of yourself. Okay, so here's the deal. If you want a better soulmate, be a better self, be a better version of yourself. So a lot of this is about profiling yourself, profiling your partner, knowing what to look for, what to move away from, how to create that life that is awesome for you, even if you're solo, and then using that to attract the kind of people you want. This is an inner game workshop, but it has a more spiritual law of attraction process connected to it, but it's still inner game. Okay, it's a $1,997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. So the total combined value between the Self-Mastery Supercharger and the Soulmate Secrets is $4,494. We're also going to include, you heard me talk about this, Attraction Mastery, Rapid Attraction Secrets for Dating, Mating, and Relating. This is a program that I taught to a co-ed workshop. I taught men everything they needed to know to approach any person they found interesting, create a conversation, generate connection, and move through the stages of intimacy with a high level of certainty. I taught women how to identify the people that they want to attract, how to signal approachability, and how to manage that communication, again, through 3 magic questions and other things that we'll be covering, so that you can, once again, signal approachability, manage that interaction, and make sure that the person who's talking to you is, in fact, who they say they are, and they're going to behave the way you expect them to behave. Okay? It's going to fill in all the gaps that society has left out, or Hollywood has, or bad beliefs that Hollywood has programmed you with. Okay, this was a 4-day live event that I did, and you'll see how to walk up to people, how to signal unconscious approachability, how to create what we call the unconscious hello, how to generate such powerful connections with the person you're talking with that they can't think of anybody else. Okay, a lot of fun. I didn't show you the map. If I have time, I'll show you the flow chart of how these things work together. So this is a $1,997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free as part of the Unlimited Lover Attraction Mastery package. Total value $6,491 when you register before the end of the webinar. We're also going to include, this is one of my best kept secrets. In 2000 and somewhere between 2010, 2011, I was busy promoting a program that I mentioned earlier called Secret Orgasm Tips. In that book, in that course, I mentioned that I was only giving people level 1 of a 3-level system for creating such powerful sensual and sexual connective experiences that people just, every time you made love, it was just better than the time before. I said I was only going to teach level 1 because of the power and the influence that it could have over a partner. And I was worried that it could be used in less than honorable ways. But people kept asking for it, and they kept emailing me about it. So 3, 4, 5 years later, I decided to fulfill my promise. So I called in some of 5 or 6 of my most advanced students, people who I knew were solid, ethical, honest people. And I turned on the video camera, and I brought somebody in as an assistant. And 2013, Seth was one of them. I brought people in, and I literally, using Secret Orgasm Tips as the textbook, I walked them through all 3 levels of the system. By the time my assistant, bless her heart, was done with the training, she literally looked at the class and with a big smile on her face said, "I don't need men anymore." And the reason that she was able to say that was because we taught her, through the power of pleasure and the hormones that are released during sensuality, how to program her mind for ever increasing levels of sensual fulfillment. She could literally orgasm on command. She could, if there was a partner who maybe wasn't the most skilled lover in the world, she could literally give him a trigger that all he would have to do is use that trigger, and boom, he could instantly pleasure her the way she wanted to be pleasured, and she could take it back anytime that she wanted. But the entire program is about understanding projection. It's about understanding that a person that you're intimate with will instinctively do to you what they want done to them the way that they want it done. And if you have eyes to see and ears to hear and the flexibility to make it about the other partner rather than about you, you will take your lover to ever increasing levels of connection, commitment, orgasm. After multiple orgasms are just off the charts with this. Okay, there's a lot of techniques that I've, no pun intended, pioneered in my more Garth Snider days that will just teach you how to instantly understand a lover's body and give them exactly what they need the first time you're with them. I used to get calls at 3 o'clock in the morning from people all over the world saying, "David, I just wanted to let you to call you and say, thank you, you saved my marriage, right? This is a literal game changer. It takes you into a realm that very, very few people ever get to experience, much less learn about. So again, the more that you can bring your partner the levels of pleasure, connection, and program it into them that every time you're together, it's better than the time before. That's a relationship that's going to stick. That's a relationship that will weather the most intense storms you can imagine. Okay. When I said, I talked earlier, there are three basic areas in relationships where things break down. One is rules and values. The other is miscommunication. The other is sexuality. Sexuality, like money, tends to make everything else in the relationship worse. If the sex is bad, everything else tends to be bad. If there's a lack of money or you're fighting over money, all the other aspects of your relationship tend to suffer. So that's what I mean when I talk about the importance of good sex or sexual connection with people. Okay. It's one of the most powerful systems I ever created. I don't talk about it very often. And I was actually scared to talk about it today, primarily because the gods of Google are listening. And this will change everything for you guys and gals. Okay. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to include this for you absolutely free. Total combined value is $8,488. So let's look at what we've got for you so far. I missed a slide. How about that? All right. The Unlimited Lover Inner Game Mastery Program. It's a self-mastery supercharger, $2,497 value plus the manual. You're going to get the Soulmate Secrets Masterclass, $1,997 value. You're going to get the Attraction Mastery Rapid Attraction Secrets Home Study Course with the manual, $1,997 value. We're going to include with you the Unlimited Lover Advanced Lovemaking Skills Super Package, $1,997 value. And unannounced bonus number 4, we're actually going to throw in the Secret Orgasm Tips Deluxe Course. This comes with interviews. It comes with transcripts. It comes with the Secrets of Mastering Sexual Experience, the 10 Keys to Maximum Sexual Arousal, which are 10 little techniques that I learned in my martial arts training that when you apply them to the body in sexual congress or intercourse, it stimulates them to the point of craziness. It includes 2 videos on sexual energy massage. This is a special video course that I created that teaches you how to stimulate specific acupuncture meridians and points in a specific order that when you do it, they will literally be screaming to have you. In fact, one time I was teaching about this in one of my erotic hypnosis classes. One of the guys stood up and said, guys, don't do this. It's too powerful. They go crazy, right? So that's part of the Secret Orgasm Tips Deluxe course. There's some other bonus manuals in there that have to do with how to last longer during sex, how to give your girlfriend or your female lover the best oral sex they've ever had, things of that nature, books on top sexual fantasies, things of that nature. Remember, this is all designed to give you a full range, have your relationship operating on all cylinders, from the inner game to meeting, to the dating, to the consummation of the first time you're together, all the way up through how to manage that relationship once you've actually said I do and so forth. It's a very comprehensive package. And I've never given out a package like this before. This is the first time in the almost 20 years I've been doing this that I've ever offered this kind of training. And I'm only doing it for this one time for Valentine's Day leap year. Right? Total value on this is $8,488 if you grab yours before the end of the webinar. So obviously it's Valentine's Day is coming up. I want you to have make the most savings. You get the biggest bang for your buck, no pun intended. So you're not going to pay $8,488. I'm not even going to cut it. What about half price? Would that be worth it at half price? Well, I'm not even going to charge you half price for that. In fact, if I half that again, that's still too much. All I want you guys to do, if you want the best love life ever, I don't care if you're male or female, I don't care what your gender choice is, I don't care about any of that. If you apply these principles, you're going to get everything included here for one low installment of just $997. All All right. Or if you need a little extra help, reach out to Moss or Mia. They'll break that up into 3 installments of just $397. And apparently it's even more valuable than I first let on, because I forgot to add the value of secret orgasm tips. So it's $8,985 value, but you're going to get it for $997, or 3 installments of just $397 each. Okay. So all you got to do to get yours is go to www.nlppower.com. Sorry about that, /lover. www.nlppower.com/LOVER. Okay. So go ahead. Now, if you're on the fence, remember that everything that we offer you comes with a 60-day unlimited guarantee. If you're not satisfied for any reason, if it's not living up to any of the promises or the claims that I've made, just pick up the phone or send Mia or Moss an email, and we will happily refund your money. If you're not on the fast track to feeling more confident, certain, and playful, if you're not rapidly clearing your emotional baggage and limiting beliefs, if you're not finding yourself talking and meeting the kind of people you really want to meet, feeling more secure and comfortable and fulfilled as a byproduct of this, if you're not enjoying more social encounters and becoming more and more irresistible by your standards, I'll refund your money. I believe so fully, so completely in the technologies that I'm sharing with you. I've bet my life on them. And if you use them and apply them the way we teach you to do for 60 days, your life will change. The quality of your relationships will change. You as a person will change, and you'll be able to generate the results and the kinds of relationships that you truly want the way you want them. All right. Test it for a full 60 days. If you need help, pick up the phone, let us know. We'll guide you over the sticking points. And if after 60 days you don't see an improvement, we'll give you your money back. Just go right now to nlppower.com/lover. Click the link right now, because again, I'm only going to give this away for a limited amount of time. And Valentine's Day is just around the corner. If you're ready to make a change, this is how you do it. Click the link right now. Right. And for those of you, some of you knew this was coming, right? For those of you who are really committed to becoming the best version of yourself, I've put together a few special bonuses just for you. But these bonuses are only good for first-time buyers, and they're only good before I log off the webinar. So everything I've explained to you up to this point is good until tonight, 11:59 p.m. The next thing I'm going to talk about is only available for you while I'm on the webinar. If you click the page after I log off the webinar, these fast action bonuses have a high probability of not being there. So if you know this is going to change your life, if you know you're tired of having the same old, click your links right now before it's too late. And let's look at what else I got for you. So first thing we're going to give you is probably the single most important gift I can give, and that is the Mastermind Mentoring Program. I have been teaching and mentoring people personally in small groups since October 2010. Every month, on the third Saturday of every month, people from all over the world either come to my facility or they log in virtually. And as I come in, I go, hey, Jake, what do you want to learn? Sierra, what do you want to learn? Tom, what do you want to learn? Holly, what do you want to learn? Mary, what do you want to learn? And I write those things up on the board. And then I step back and I look at all the connecting threads and I create a lesson plan for the group on the spot. And for the next 4 to 6 hours, I drill you specifically on those skills until you can do them in your sleep. Then you go out into the world and you apply those skills to your life. You come back next month and I'm going to ask you the same question. Jax, what do you want to learn? Moss, what do you want to learn? Sierra, what do you want to learn? And I'm going to list what you want on my screen. I'm going to find the connecting threads. I'm going to create that lesson plan, and we're going to drill and skill, right? The best part about the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program is that you get to surround yourself with people who are interested in the same things you are. They want to get better at the same things you do. You're surrounded by people who support you, and you get to have a good time, and you get practice. That's what takes you to a completely different level. If you've experienced the Mastermind, please post it in the chat. Tell people how it's changed your life. This is your chance to level up, right? Now, the best part is we've been running this program every month, month after month, since October 10, 2010. I'm sorry, October 2010. So we're going into our 14th year. We have videotaped every single one of those training sessions. And as a trial member of the NLP Power Mastermind mentoring group, you're going to get unlimited access to that entire archive. Stuff that's never been on YouTube, never been released as a product, never seen the light of day. Everything from attraction to healing to trauma resolution to law of attraction, body language, face reading, energy healing, psychic skills, accelerated learning, NLP, hypnosis, regression, you name it. If it's pertinent to the field of personal development and communication and influence, magic and energy, it's in there. You get to have unfettered access to it for the entire 90 days that you are part of that mastermind trial membership. Okay. If at the end of 90 days, you decide that it's not for you, hey, you got 90 days to practice with people who are cool, doing cool stuff. If after 90 days you say, hey, I love this community, I love Planet David, I want more, we'll show you how to extend that membership so you can continue to train and get the very best of everything that we have to offer you. You get your questions answered, you get personally mentored by me. This is my chance to get to know you and really tailor our programs to meet your needs. It's an $891 value, but I think you can tell it's a little bit more valuable than that. We're going to give this to you free. So the total combined value is $9,379. We're also going to include the Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course. Now, David, if this is a class on attraction, why in God's name are you teaching me a course on instant conversation hypnosis? A, because all relationships are inherently hypnotic. And one of the primary focuses when I created this course was teaching people how to be better at attraction. So this course will, and Stealth actually stands for something. It stands for Strategic Suggestion Through Emotionally Amplified Linguistically Transmitted Hypnosis. This is one of the most powerful courses that we've created. It's designed for you to watch tonight and use tomorrow. Okay? It comes with transcripts. It comes with the 7 most powerful language patterns that exist. It comes with what we call a class we call hypnotic hot buttons, which is all about anchoring and creating states on demand, and criteria and values and emotional bonding techniques, which we didn't talk too much about in this webinar, but we talk about it a lot in other webinars, and it's a big piece of the attraction mastery system, knowing what a person's emotional needs, values are, and matching them. Okay, that's where we create that massive emotional appeal. So this is a course that was designed for people who want to get started right away. Literally, you can watch 2 videos and be out hypnotizing people right afterwards. It's that fast. It comes with manuals, transcripts, MP3s that you can listen to. Total combined value is $10,376, or as Seth was saying, $10,873. And that's fast action bonus number 2. But remember, this is only available for you if you log off or click that button now. Click the buttons in the links before I log off right now. All right. Last, but perhaps not least, a lot of you have been asking me for something like this. So for the next 21 people who register today, I'm going to do a special training just for you. I'm going to do a 3-day virtual, get the love you want the way you want it. This is where I take specific selections and techniques and modules from Soulmate Secrets, Attraction Mastery, Self-Mastery Supercharger, Unlimited Lover, and I'm going to teach you how these things fit together to create one of the most powerful relationship creation and management systems ever invented. This is all about not just getting laid. It's about finding the people that satisfy you on a spiritual level, an emotional level, a romantic level, a values level, and how to take that relationship, generate tremendous physical attraction, emotional attraction, and then move through the stages of a relationship so that it just keeps getting better and better and better and better and better. One of the most important things that you need to understand is that you have to, you have to be on a growth track in your relationships, because your relationships are going to continue to grow and evolve. And if you don't have the tools to manage those changes, you're going to find yourself often looking at the person you've been in a relationship for so many years and wondering who the hell they are. right? So I want to give you those tools. I want to guide you step by step by step through drill and intervention after intervention, designed to make you the true prize in any relationship. And by the way, just having this course makes you the prize. And the reason I say that is because you've actually invested in becoming the kind of person who can give your partner the exact kind of experiences they've always fantasized about having, the exact way that they want to have them. And when you do this, there is nothing those people will not do to make you happy. Stop for a moment and use your imagination for me right now. Imagine for a moment that you found the perfect partner. Now, when I say perfect, I mean that from the moment you met them, they said things to you that you always thought you wanted to hear, but had never really heard anybody say. It was almost like they could read your mind and know exactly what made you feel the most seen, heard, understood, validated, and approved of. When they touched you in the way that you always wanted to be touched, exactly the way you fantasized that might be. When they held your hand in exactly the way you've always thought it should be. When they kissed you, it was like kissing the perfect lover. And when you finally went through that process of getting even more deeply involved, they did everything right. They knew exactly what to do. It's almost like they knew exactly what your deepest, most powerful fantasies were. And they could relate to you in the way you've always wanted to be related to. Let me ask you a question. Is there anything you wouldn't do for a person like that? If that's the kind of experience you want to have, if that's the experience you want to be able to give, that's what makes you the prize, because you will have the tools and the skills to do exactly that without fail. I 1000% guarantee it. Okay. I have tested this in, like, I didn't make this for you. I've tested this in ways you can't possibly imagine, ladies and gentlemen. And it's completely ethical, completely honest. There's no deception. There's no manipulation. It's all about understanding people on a different level and giving them exactly what they've always wanted. And in return, you get to have everything you wanted, right? We'll teach you how to create those kinds of relationships, to emanate charisma on command, to make people like, love, and trust you, to discover how to attract anyone you want and take it to that ultimate extreme. So when you're ready, total combined value is $12,873. We're going to give this training to you absolutely free, just for clicking that link right now. All you got to do is go to www.nlppower.com/lover. Click this link right now. You're going to get the Self-Mastery Supercharger Home Study Course. So you got that inner game locked down, $2,497. You're going to get the Soulmate Secrets Masterclass. So you know exactly what you want, who you're looking for, who you are as a person, what makes you feel the most fulfilled, and exactly where to go and what to look for to find your best partner. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give this to you free. We're going to give you the Attraction Mastery Rapid Attraction Secrets Home Study Course, $1,997 value. So not only do you have the inner game wrapped up, not only do you have the law of attraction game wrapped up, you now have the techniques, the outer game to go and find your best partners and live that dream. $1,997 value. We're going to include with secret orgasm tips, how to have the best sex ever home study course, $497 value. We're going to include the Unlimited Lover levels 2 and 3 advanced lovemaking secrets skills package. This is a game changer, guys and gals. This is crazy good, right? $1,997 value. We're going to give this to you free. You're going to get the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring trial period and the 13-year archive valued at $891. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. And you're going to get that VIP super ticket to our next virtual Getting the Love You Want the Way You Want It, Hidden Secrets of Love and Attraction virtual masterclass scheduled for March 8th through March 10th, 2024. You can learn this and study this and practice this from the privacy of your own home. We'll be going through very selective modules from each of the programs that we've talked about, and we'll put them together in such a way that you come out of that training knowing exactly what to do, how to do it, and who to do it with. Okay? Just click your link right now, www.nlppower.com/lover, LOVER. Click the link right now so that you can get the best life ever. Total value is $12,873. You can get it all for one low investment of just $997. Or if you need a little help, reach out to Moss or Mia. Break that into 3 easy installments of just $397 each. Click your link right now. If you have questions about this, you can call Moss at 858-282-4663. You can email Mia at nlppower.com. Remember, if you call and you get voicemail, because a lot of people tend to call for this, I want you to be very clear that you leave all of your contact information, your name, your address, your phone number, why you're calling, so we can get back to you within the next 24 hours. If you leave that information and we get back to you in the next 24 hours, you will qualify for all the bonuses tonight. If you call and you do not leave that information and you call us tomorrow, you will not qualify for the fast action bonuses. Fast action bonuses are only good while I'm still logged on the webinar. Okay, so I want to be very, very clear. This webinar is for first-time buyers, and the fast action bonuses are only good if you click the link right now while I'm still logged into the webinar. So what's going to happen next is I'm going to give you guys an 8-minute break to use the restroom, reach out to Moss or Mia and get those links clicked and get yourself processed. When we come back in 8 to 10 minutes, we're going to pick up with phase 3 and we're going to start to drill down. We're going to finish the 3 magic questions. And then if there's time, I'm happy to customize the content of tonight's webinar to whatever you want. You want to talk about sexuality? We'll talk about sexuality. You want to talk about approaching? We'll talk about approaching. You want about clearing baggage or becoming more confident? We'll do that, right? Whatever it is you want to focus on for part 3 of the webinar as a group, that's where we're going. Okay, so we're going to finish 3 magic questions and then just keep teaching until we're out of time. So it is 6:05 now. We'll see you in 8 minutes. That is 7:03. See you soon. Stay on to the end of the webinar. You never know what's going to happen. All right, I'm back from my break a couple minutes early. If people have questions, feel free to type them in the chat and I'll answer them before we get back to our regularly scheduled event. All right, let me go back to our regularly scheduled program. Okay. All right, guys and gals, this is your chance. What do you want to know about? Where do you do you want me to finish with 3 magic questions, or you guys got something else you want to know about? Steph is asking, what are you doing the Golden Path course, and when are you going to come to Orlando? We would like to come to Orlando sometime in the near future. Right now, probably, if anything, probably towards the latter half of 2024, or beginning of 2025. We'll probably be doing something over there. If something comes up sooner, I'll let you guys know. All right. No problem. Everybody's ready for 3 magic questions, part 2 and 3? Yes? Okay. So remember that the only reason behind level 1 questions is to do one thing. It's to shift their psycho-emotional state. It's to get people out of their head and into the world. Okay, now they can interact with you. When we're beginning to ask questions, or when we're beginning to begin this process, remember that there's something we call the master echo sequence. If you've ever watched any of my Secrets of Human Influence webinars, I don't think we talk about it in Hidden Laws of Attraction. If you ever watched Defense Against the Dark Arts, Weapons of Social Seduction, in every single one of those trainings, we've talked about the echo technique, and then every now and then we talk about the master echo sequence. The master echo sequence is how you conversationalize and leverage the echo technique. So the first thing you do when you're going to use the master echo formula is you ask a question. You pay attention to their response. You validate that response. You echo their words. You ask another question. So I'm going to repeat that 3 or 4 times for you so you guys can write it down, right? If you want to see how that applies or understand how to do it, you can either go sort through the many webinars we've got here on YouTube, or you can click the link, get Attraction Mastery. It's all in there. Okay, it's in there in multiple places, as a matter of fact, because it's that important. If you really want to become one of the most fascinating people that anyone's ever met, if you want to literally command a person's attention, no matter where you go, with very little effort on your part, the echo technique is the way you do this. Okay. If you want to leverage that even further, now we move into 3 magic questions. 3 magic questions on how to remove the bad filters. Okay, given is it pronounced given or given? When you say bad filters, I don't know what that means. What does that actually? Type in the chat what that actually means, and I'll circle back. So the first thing throughout the entire 3 magic questions process, remember, 3 magic questions is a code for 3 levels of question. Okay. Let me just zoom in here a little bit. And we'll do this. That's fine. All right. So, location, occasion, soften, master echo formula, echo their word, or pay attention, validate the response, echo their words, ask again, cycling through all. Now we go to level 2. Level 2 questions are always about career, passions, pleasures, or fun. Well, I consider passions and pleasures to be fun, but Let me be clear, because there was some confusion last time I taught this. You don't have to talk about all of those. What you talk about is either their career, you talk about the things they do for pleasure, or what they're passionate about. Okay. And the reason that we give three choices with that is that every now and then you're going to run into somebody who hates their job. They're going to run into, and in the way this works psychologically, in most cultures, most modern cultures now, and probably in more pre-industrial cultures as well, you are basically what you do. People love to talk about themselves. Okay. People are their most favorite subject. In fact, you should probably write this down. This is called, this was coined by FBI agent Jack Schaefer in his book, The Like Switch. He calls it the golden rule of friendship. People instinctively like people who make them feel good about themselves. I'll repeat that 3 times so you can write it down. People instinctively like people who make them feel good about themselves. Now, there's a corollary to that, and you've probably heard this one in other contexts. People like people who are like themselves. Let me repeat that 3 times. People like people who are like themselves. So this goes back to the psychology of attraction that I started the webinar with, which is the more you like someone you become, the more they can identify with you, the more comfortable they feel around you, and it's easier to become attracted and connected to people that you identify with. Okay? So, Jack Schaefer's golden rule of friendship: people like people who make them feel good about themselves. General rule of identification: people like people who are like themselves. 3 magic questions and echo technique do both at the same time. Okay? 3 magic questions does both at the same time, and it absolutely captivates and captures their focus and attention. So when we go to level 2, we're going to ask people about their careers. People love to talk about, here's the thing, even when the people are not happy in their jobs and they start talking about it, they'll actually experience pleasure. Now, why is that? It's because when people get to talk about themselves, even when they're saying the most heinous things, they go into a pleasure state. And so they will voluntarily disclose things to you that they wouldn't disclose on a job interview, right? Because they feel comfortable with you. They feel, because of the echo technique and the processing that you're going through, they feel connected to you. Okay. So the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to use the master echo formula. You're going to say, I'm curious, what do you do for a living? And they might say something like, well, I'm an accountant. Oh, wow. An accountant, man. I use an accountant all the time, but I've never been good with numbers, but I always wondered, like, how does someone like choose to become an accountant? Like, did you wake up one day and say, hey, numbers, yay? Or I bet there's an origin story there, isn't there? How did you decide to become an accountant? And the person's going to go and say, well, my mom and dad were both accountants. They loved math, and growing up, we would always play math games and math puzzles. And I watched how well my mom and my dad did in their business, and how they had, when tax season wasn't going on, they had a little bit more free time, and so they could spend time with us. And I just thought, well, this is a good life. I think I want to do this for my kids, when I get older. And so I studied math because I love math too. I got it from my parents, I guess, and so I went to college, got my degree in accounting, and now I'm working with them, as I'm building up my expertise. And eventually I'm going to start my own firm and build it really big, and see what I can do with that, and really move my life forward. Now, just from that explanation, what can we infer about this individual? Type it in the chat. What can we profile about this person? Is this person someone who moves through the world feeling like the world owes him something? Steph says they're family oriented. What else? What else do you know? They like numbers. Okay. I think Steph is the, Steph is the only one actively paying attention here. It's easy for them. Okay. Is this person living off their family? They're driven, Seth says. Is this someone who has ambition? Is this someone who feels the world owes them something? Right? You see how you can start checking boxes? Ambitious, right? Now, entrepreneurial, very good. Now, contrast. So I'm curious. Yeah, how did you decide to become an accountant? Well, I never really liked accounting, but mom and dad had this accounting firm, and I've always been good with numbers, and it just kind of came easy. So I figured, well, you know what? Saves you from having to go out and look for a job. So I went to college, did decent, did okay. People were a little jealous because my family's pretty well to do and stuff, but it was okay. I graduated, I got my accounting degree, and I got my license. And now I'm just, I'm doing taxes and stuff with my mom and dad, and they don't give me too much shit. And eventually they're going to retire, and I'll take over the business, and then I'll just chill and just, build the business, show them how it really works. Maybe eventually I'll move out of the basement and go to rehab, and things will be awesome. Okay. Now I threw a few little hooks in there. But what do we know about this person? Steph's cracking up over there, right? Freeloader, taking the easy route. Run, Zach says, non-ambit. Exactly. Now, here's the irony. Here's the irony. The person telling either story, the person telling that last story will be just as attracted, connected, and wanting your approval and feeling good about themselves as the person from the first story. Why? Because they're talking about their favorite subject, themselves. And here's the magic. The longer that person talks to you, the more attracted to you they become. I often tell my students, the longer they talk, the better you look. Voltaire's attributed with a phrase, give me 10 minutes to talk away my ugly face and I'll bed the Queen of France. This is that. If you understand these conversational dynamics, the person that you're interacting with will give you the most personal, even sometimes damaging admissions about their life with a smile on their face. And they will think you are the coolest person they've ever met. Now, what do you think you should be doing during this process? It's 3 words. Sal says eval, okay. Echo, okay. Close, Steph, but not what I'm looking for. Saul almost got it. Profiling, absolutely given. The way I teach it in romance context is always be testing. You should be listening and paying attention to every word that comes out of their mouth. And you should be checking boxes or unchecking boxes. Does this person match the template, the profile that you've created for somebody you want to have in your life? Now, remember, you don't have to use 3 magic questions for just romantic relationships. You can do this to interview somebody for a position in your company. You can use this in a mediation or negotiation. I have 35 personal injury attorneys who use this to vet clients and warm them up for depositions. This works everywhere, but it was designed for romance applications, and it was designed for women to use on men. Now, men can use it just as powerfully with women. Seth says, wow, that is why I'm good at referring people to others. Yeah, right? This creates powerful connections and feelings of trust and of validation and acceptance in everyone that you do this with. Now, the best part is the longer they talk, the longer they're in this 3MQ process, the more rapport you're generating, the more attraction you're generating, the more trust you're generating, people will find it progressively harder to lie to you. They will literally flag themselves because in order to lie, they have to break rapport. Stephanie is no longer with the company, George, but if you call 858-282-4663, you can talk to Moss directly, or you can email Mia at nlppower.com. but you can also email moss@nlppower.com, right? So this is the idea, right? Level 2 questions is where the rubber hits the road, metaphorically speaking. It's at level 2 questions that you start to really mine the conversation for more and more information. And that's what's beautiful about the 3 magic questions combined with the echo technique. It primes the person you're doing this with for increased, enhanced self-disclosure. They're going to keep talking. They're going to be talking about their favorite subject, which is themselves, which is exactly what you want them to do. So you can decide, do they get to go to level 3? Do they stay at level 2? Or do you press the panic button and get the hell out of Dodge, right? This is where the massive level of profiling happens, is at level 2. Now, if this person is passing your tests, if this person has checked all the boxes and you say, hey, this person has a pretty good shot of being Mr. or Mrs. Right. I want to hook them. I want to keep them as an intimate part of my life in whatever way that appears for you. That's when you go to level 3. It's really, really important. Before I start teaching you about level 3, it's really, really important that you know in your heart of hearts, 6 ways since to Sunday, that you want this person to be a part of your life. Because if you go to level 3 and you chose wrongly, you may wind up with a stalker. You may wind up with someone who's borderline personality, and they're going to make your life a living hell. So one of the things you heard me talk about when I talk about the Universal Persuasion Protocol, I teach you on Attraction Mastery, Killer Influence, control your state. You have to have good state control through the entire 3 magic questions process. The reason is because you're going to be generating rapport and attraction. You're going to be mastering and engineering connection. And you will feel those connections too. And so if you don't know exactly what you're sorting for, if you can't control your state, you will start to give people the benefit of the doubt who you shouldn't be giving the benefit of the doubt. How many of you have invested in somebody after a first date who had potential? Anybody? Oh, if just the right coaching, just the right support, this person could be X and this person could be Y, and I could be the power behind the throne. Right? How many of you have gotten into a relationship hoping somebody would evolve into what you pictured them to be and just didn't? Or only got a certain way and then stopped? 3 magic questions allows you to circumvent that entire nightmare. Matthew says, I can save her. Yes. We don't do this. Again, we're here to learn this in the context of therapy, in the context of dating and relationships. We don't sign up to be people's therapists on a date. We do not do that. Okay, I'm telling you this because as you launch into 3 magic questions, if they got stuff, it's probably coming out there. Every now and then it'll come up in level 2, which is, again, you should check the box, right? We're not here to invest in people with potential. We're here to invest in people who are actualizing their potential, who are demonstrating through their words and their behaviors and the stories that they tell that they're quality people, that they're going to bring value to their life, to your life. Do you see why it's important to have your shit together too? Because if you're someone who doesn't have their shit together and you're across from someone who does have their shit together, now you become the anchor around their neck, and you won't be able to hold on to them. They'll sort for something else. But the more you can raise yourself up, the more you can build your inner game, your outer game, raise your sexual, romantic, and social value, so that when you're interacting with them, they're getting tremendous value from just being in your presence. That's a win-win. And that's a relationship that people will fight to the death to keep. It starts here. It starts here. So let's assume now that they've checked all the boxes. You've profiled them. Maybe you've done a flags profile, focus, lifestyle, associations, groups from the Defense Against the Dark Arts training. Okay, this person appears to be who they say they are. They're congruent. Everything they've said matches with my values and my rules. Their attraction their attachment styles and their love languages might be the same as mine. Let's go deeper. Now you're going to go to level 3 question. Level 3 question, you're still going to be echoing and using the master echo sequence through the entire formula. But now what you're going to do is you're going to ask them about early positive childhood experiences. It could be something as simple as, you have an interesting accent. I'm curious. Where did you grow up? What did you love to do when you were a kid? What did you play at? Now that's a really powerful question. It doesn't seem like a powerful question, but it seems relatively common every day, right? Notice how I softened it? Now here's what's going to happen. One of several things will happen. They'll either actually answer your question. Oh, 3 things. All right, I'll give you 3 things. They'll either answer your question. Good sign. They will try to evade the question. Red flag. Or they will tell you about the shitty thing that happened to them when they were a kid. Double red flag. Okay. But if you say to somebody, so I'm curious, you have an interesting accent. I'm curious, where did you grow up? What did you like to play at when you were a kid? What was your favorite thing to do? Right. And instead of telling you about when they would go snowboarding, with their best friends, down on the weekends, they start talking about how Uncle Ted used to take them back behind the chicken coop to show them a special kind of wrestling. Or they start giving you abuse stories or things of that nature on a first date. That should be a double red flag. A, because they didn't follow your instructions. B, they trauma dumped you, which means that A, they're looking for a therapist in the guise of a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or B, they're going to bring that baggage into your relationship at some point, and they're going to dive bomb you with it. Right? Remember, relationships are far too important to roll the dice. You didn't log on to this webinar, to this training, for more chaos, to put more randomness into your life. You came here to have more power, choice, and control over the people you meet, who you can attract, and who you keep, and who you get into a relationship with. That means you have to have the cojones, whether you were biologically born with them or not. You have to have the stones to set your boundaries, set your criteria, set what you will accept and what you won't in very clear terms, and not deviate from it for the sake of charity or compassion. Right? That's not going to help you, and it's certainly not going to help that person. Okay. Again, I've watched the tragedies of this for 20 some years in private practice, watching people talk about their relationships and the pitfalls, watching people go from bad relationship to bad, my friends and my colleagues go from bad relationship to bad relationship to bad relationship because they didn't follow the simple rules. Right? They say the heart wants what the heart wants. Well, maybe, but if that always worked, we'd have a much different world to live in, wouldn't we? Remember, and if you've studied law of attraction, if you've studied manifestation, any form of performance enhancement, they're going to tell you, you're going to hear this, that you're going to become like the top 5 people you associate with. Right? If you're surrounded by winners and high achievers and people who bring value to your relationship, that's what you're going to become. Right? If you're around deeply spiritual people who have the same values and the same activities that they love, you're going to feel good around those people and you're going to self-actualize that way. But if you're the square peg in the round hole, if everyone around you is negative and underachieving and operating from entitlement or trauma dumping or projecting their traumas onto you, that's what you're going to get. You're going to backslide. And this is something that comes up every single time I teach in any context. You have to be very, very mindful of the people you surround yourself with, but even more so, the people you share your life with, the people you share your bedroom with, right? These people are going to have the most profound impact on you, right? If you take less care in selecting a date than you do a job interview or a job applicant, right? we need to change our values, our rules. We need to have the state control to make some pretty hard decisions. Now, that being said, I'm going to get off my pedestal. When you hit level 3 and you ask them about early positive childhood experiences, and they actually tell you about that, here's what happens. The most powerful memories that we as human beings have are the memories that happen between 0 and 5 years old. After that, it's 6 to 13, give or take, 6 to 12. Those memories form the foundations of our personality, our temperament, our attitudes, our values, you name it. How many of you, by show of hands in the chat, have ever met someone, and even though this might be your first time meeting them, or you've only known them for a few minutes or even a couple of hours, it seems like there's a part of you that feels like you've known this person your entire life. Like there's a part of you that's always been waiting for this person to show up and be that special version, or that special person in your life. And maybe the first time you meet them and you don't know why it happens, but you talk to them for 20 minutes, or what you thought was 20 minutes, and you look at your watch and like 12 hours have gone by or 10 hours have gone by. And all you've done is just been absorbed in that experience, that process. But you feel like you've known them your whole life, even in that short amount of time you're together. Have you guys ever had that experience? What if you could create that on demand? What if you could cause that with anyone you met? That's what level 3 questions do. With level 3 questions, you literally have them go back and recall a memory. When they recall that memory, the pleasant one, it opens up and it plays like a movie. They start to have the feelings and the experiences that they were having as that younger version of themselves. Who are they looking at when those feelings come up? We're looking at, right? Who gets linked to all those feelings? That's right. This is called pseudo-regression or time distortion. When you ask somebody about those early positive childhood experiences, a portal opens that you walk through, or they extend out to you, that bridges to you. And that sense of passage of time that's connected to that memory gets attached to you. And as it gets attached to you, it literally inject yourself into that memory, just as a consequence of them talking about it. And they feel like they've known you since that moment. And how do people fall in love? Through shared experiences over time, specifically shared emotional experiences over time. So this is one of the reasons why you never use level 3 questions until you are absolutely sure you want this person to be a part of your life. And again, in Attraction Mastery, you learn all the nuances. There's actually amplifiers and force multipliers to this process that make it even more unstoppable. But you don't need all that to go out and start using this right away. But if you want the whole system, click the links and we'll get you started on that. And we're especially going to cover it in depth at the 3-day Get the Love You Want virtual intensive. But this is the 3 magic questions protocol. Level 1, actually, rules. A, use their words as often as you can. Use the Master Echo formula. Never ask a question that can be answered yes or no. Always ask a question that requires an opinion, an explanation, or a story. Level 1 questions are all about location, occasion. Simple, non-threatening, superficial questions about who they're with and why they're there. Master Echo formula, move to level 3. Pick careers, passions, or pleasures. Ask a question, pay attention to the response, validate the response, echo their words, ask another question, just keep talking, just keep listening. They'll tell you story after story after story. And the longer, and again, you can do this in as little as 20 minutes, but you can take hours if you want to, right? If after a certain amount of time you've checked enough boxes, you feel pretty confident, transition to by the way, for most dating dynamics, it's actually never necessary. For most other applications as well, it's never actually necessary to go beyond level 2. Level 3 questionings or level 3 interventions should only be used when you know this is someone you want to be a major part of your life, part of your inner circle in some way. Okay, whether as a business partner, a lover, a spouse, a bestie, right? That's where the level 3 comes in. Level 2s, you can sort them at anywhere from casual acquaintance to, social circle, right? But those level 3 questions, again, don't nuke them, because you give people, don't be in a rush. I don't have a lot of patience, which is why I don't waste my time on low percentage technique. But the truth is that you're never going to go wrong in many cases taking your time vetting these people, right? This process works, and it works really well. Now, in attraction mastery, once you've gotten into level 3 and you want to take it even deeper, there's a 36 question process called the intimacy intensifier interview that will have them wanting to marry you, if that's what you want them to do. And it's like a game you can play, or it's just questions you work into the 3 magic questions format that just amplifies everything. Okay, we'll talk about in attraction mastery. You learn about how to demonstrate social status and be seen as a person of influence and authority and credibility in their world. Okay, those are all things that are in the attraction mastery, the unlimited level program. And then, of course, if you actually get to the level where you actually share physical and emotional intimacy, now you can unleash the unlimited lover system, and they're yours. For as long as you want them, they're yours. It's that powerful. It's a little bit more challenging for the ladies to do it on the men, but mostly because most men have to train to have multiple orgasms. Whereas women, even women who are convinced they can't have an orgasm, you can show them how to become multi-orgasmic very, very quickly by matching their projections and giving them what they actually want and need. I know I kind of broke the mood a little bit by talking about sexuality, but listen, you want the whole package. You don't want just interesting conversations. You want fulfilling, lasting, long-term relationships. You need the tools, right? So if this has piqued your interest, you want access to the whole system, you want my personal coaching and mentorship, by all means, click the link, www.nlppower.com/LOVER, lover. And we'll get you started on the fast track to finding those people, getting in the kind of communications and relationships that are really satisfying, thrilling, and fulfilling to you, and into relationships that actually just keep getting better. Okay. All right, so we've got about 15 minutes. Where do you get the question? It's in the attraction mastery program. It's called the intimacy intensifier interview, and it's an extension that you either log on to the back of 3 magic questions, or you deploy within level 2 or 3 of 3 magic questions. It's in the attraction mastery formula. Okay, what other questions do you have? While you're coming up with your questions, let me just review for us what the offer is. So once again, we're going to start you with the inner game training, the self-mastery supercharger, $2,497 value. We're going to give you the Soulmate Secrets Masterclass and all the workbooks and manuals that come with that, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. You're going to get the Attraction Mastery Rapid Attraction Secrets for Dating, Mating, and Relating Home Study Course, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. You're going to get the Secret Orgasm Tips, How to Have the Best Sex Ever Home Study Course. The course that started it all, really. $497 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. You're going to get the Unlimited Lover Advanced Lovemaking Secrets and Sexual Skills Training Program, valued at $1,997. We're going to give that to you free. You're going to get the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program and the 13-year Mastermind Archive, valued at $891. We're going to give that to you free. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, that at $997. We're going to give that to you free. And of course, for the next 21 people to click that link right now, you'll get a free VIP seat at our next, our only, as a matter of fact, Getting the Love You Want, Hidden Secrets of Love and Attraction virtual masterclass, scheduled for March 8th to March 10th, 2024. Streamed live from San Diego. It's a $2,497 value. We're going to include this for you absolutely free as our way to get you on the fast track to getting the love you want the way that you want it. Total package value, if you were to grab it, buy it individually on the website, which some of these you can't. Like you can't get Soulmates. As of today, last time I looked, you couldn't get Soulmate Secrets through NLP Power. It's $12,873. You get it all for one low installment of just $997. Or if you want, you can break that up into 3 easy installments of $397 each. How much is your happiness worth, right? If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. If you want something different, you got to do something different. So if you're ready to level up, click the link right now. Go to www.nlppower.com/LOVER. Click the link before I log off so you can qualify for those fast action bonuses. Click that link. And while you're doing that, again, if you have questions, go ahead and reach out to Moss or Mia. And I've got 13 minutes before I need to jump out. So tell me, what do you want to know about? What questions do you have? Has this been helpful? Has this been useful for everybody? Cool. Starting to wonder. Andrew says, I keep trancing out, so I'm going to go with yes. Definitely every time I'm on Planet David, something. Unlimited Lover is so powerful, Matthew said. It is. It's really powerful. Nonstop value, Steph says. Thank you. I don't want to get off the subject. Okay, don't get off the subject then. All right. Okay. No other questions? You guys are smart. James, what's just James? James says, can you use pressure points? Oh, God, yes. What do you want me to use pressure points for? Letta says, something good will happen. Nicole says, what are the behavior signs and individuals do when they like you? When you see pupil dilation, when you see ventral orientation, when you see head tilts, these are signs that somebody likes what they see. What do I mean when I say ventral orientation? Their centerline faces you. Okay. Depending on where they are in the stages of love and attraction, you may see, if they want to be kissed, you may see the lower lip start to swell. It's interesting that arousal makes all labial surfaces swell. So if someone's talking to you at the beginning like this, and by the end they look like Angelina Jolie, they're excited. Okay. But a lot of people intentionally inflate their lips to have that look. So you have to get a baseline. But I would look at pupil dilation, ventral orientation, head tilts, look at grooming behaviors, palm showing, things of that nature. These are all things that somebody does when they're surrendering to feelings. You're welcome, Nicole. Anybody else? You got questions, I got answers. Wow, I'm either a great teacher. How to give a great Valentine's Day date. The secret to it is to ask the person what their favorite Valentine's Day date was, or the favorite Valentine's story that they ever heard, and find a way to match it or to use it. I have actually some really sneaky in a nice way ways to do that. Remember, here, I'll give you this one for free. Remember I said that people are always projecting their inner world onto the outer world? Oh, Sam's asking, I already purchased Attraction Mastery. What would be the best course of action for me? Reach out to Moss and let him know that you already have Attraction Mastery, and he'll let you swap out a course of equal or lesser value for the Attraction Mastery program, and or issue you a VIP ticket for an event, whichever one works best for you. What if they haven't had one before? Well, then it's really simple, Saul. You talk about your favorite Valentine's Day date, and then you turn it around and say, I'm curious, if you could like pick your favorite fantasy Valentine's date, what would it be? Now, the secret to this is called elicitation, by the way. The technical term is informational altruism. When you volunteer information, people feel socially accountable for giving you the same information in return. So if you want to be kind of sneaky about it, you'd start talking about what your friend did on their Valentine's Day and what your sister's husband did for her on her Valentine's Day, and you talk about what yours did, then they'll either often volunteer what their favorite Valentine's Day date would be, was, or might be, or you can just ask. So I'm curious, what does it for you? What makes the best Valentine's Day ever? Right? And they'll usually tell you or come up with something. Also, when you're telling all these other stories, watch her pupils dilate, watch her forward tilt, watch which one she responds to most strongly, and to use that as your template. See, again, it's all about understanding projection. Oh, let me finish my story. Back before I became Darth Snider, I was living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Coral Springs, and I was working at a shoe store out there. And I was always one of the top salesmen in my region, right? I worked my way up from a $600,000 unit to a $1.5 million unit, and I was always in the top 3 district-wide. And I was also the #1 salesman in accessories. So when people would come in and buy shoes, they would buy shoe bows or non-skids or nylons or socks. I was the top guy always in accessory sales. Now, how the hell does this relate to dating? Real simple. I hacked humans, even at that age, in my early 20s. I knew that people did what they did before. So when people would come in and they'd look at a shoe, they'd always look at what was new. But after watching people enough, I realized something, that no matter what shoe they looked at when they came in, they always bought what was on their feet, or the newest version of what was on their feet. Or if they bought a different shoe, the next shoe they bought was going to be the one that was on their feet. So what I figured out was that every time they would ask me to go bring them a shoe, I would look at what's on their feet, and the other shoe, because they always wanted us to upsell, I would bring out the newest version of the shoe they were wearing. Guess which one they bought most of the time? You will almost never go wrong recreating a person's peak experience. All right. When we get together on March 8th through the 10th, I will tell you some of the romantic exploits that I've done. Now, when I say romantic, I don't mean seduction. What I mean is engineering romantic experiences for people. There was one I did, anything could have gone wrong, but it went off perfectly. And I surprised somebody on their birthday. They didn't even know I was in the state. Right? In fact, they were convinced that I was actually playing a video game with them 4 states away. I'll explain that when I see you on the 8th through the 10th. It's not just about the sex. It's not just about the communication. It's about understanding romance and what signals romance to your partner. It's the whole package, right? But people will constantly project into the world, their world. And if you can match it and give it to them, they'll move heaven and earth to hold on to you like it's nobody's business. It's magic. It really is. And it's almost not fair because it's so simple. It's not always easy. It's not always easy. That's why picking the right partner is so critical, right? One of the reasons I was actually named one of the top 10 attraction experts and seduction experts of 2003 wasn't because I got a high body count. You guys know what that means? High body count? One of the reasons was that I knew how to engineer such powerfully satisfying relationships that people would, my partners would literally do anything I wanted whenever I wanted because they were so happy and fulfilled. And I could manage multiple long-term relationships at the same time with complete honesty, openness, and integrity. How? By understanding what truly fulfills a person. Right now, obviously, I'm married. I've put many of those days behind me, but I wouldn't trade most of those experiences for anything in the world, because it taught me about what's true. It taught me about how people really work. And if you want that information, if you want to understand this world better than 99.99% of the people on the planet, at least in this context, click that link and get this information so I can teach you what almost nobody knows. Okay. Like I said, I'm only offering this once. And I really, really want to see you on March 8th through the 10th. So please just hold on a second. Let me just review this for you because I know we're coming up on our time limit. So once again, you're going to get the Self-Mastery Supercharger Home Study Course. You're going to get Soulmate Secrets Masterclass, the Attraction Mastery Rapid Attraction Secrets Training, 4-day training with the manual, $1,997 value. You're going to get the Secret Orgasm Tips, How to Have the Best Sex Ever Home Study Course plus bonuses. That's the deluxe course. So $497 value. You're going to get the Unlimited Lover Advanced Lovemaking Secrets Masterclass, $1,997 value. You're going to get the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program 3-month trial membership plus the 13-year archive, $891 value, free. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value, free. You're going to get the VIP super ticket to the Getting the Love You Want 3-day virtual intensive, teaching you how the hidden secrets of love and attraction and virtual masterclass. It's a $2,497 value. And again, you can watch it from the privacy of your own home. It's going to be completely virtual. Total package is $12,873. You can grab it all for $997. Or if you need to help, you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397 each. All you got to do is click this link right now. Go to www.nlppower.com/lover. Click the link, click the link, click the link. While you're doing that, I'm going to skim through some of these questions. Bleda wanted to know about the something good will happen method on getting what you want. Oh, that's a manifestation technique that works if you are really good at image cycling. Simon King says, what if I kiss someone on the cheek and now they won't talk to me? Is there something I can say or do to recontact her? Or first of all, I would reach, if they're not talking to you, I'm not sure I'd want to talk to them. If a kiss on the cheek made them that creeped out, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there's either something really wrong with them or there were some signs that you missed. But the first thing I would do is send them an email. And I would say, hey, I just wanted to apologize if I crossed some boundaries. I was feeling very connected to you, and it's quite obvious now that maybe you didn't feel that way, or I may have triggered something, and I just wanted you to know that I was wrong and I'm sorry. And I would really appreciate if you would give me a chance to clear the air, right? And then send it. When you're ready to reach, give me your phone number or whatever contact information, and send it and leave it at that. And they'll either reach out to you or they won't. One of the worst things you can do is keep texting them. Okay. But what you want to do is you want to just get it out in the open. Look, hey, sorry, I just wanted to reach out and say, hey, if I did anything to offend you, or I crossed the line I shouldn't have, I just wanted to let you know I'm deeply sorry. I was wrong. And, I misread the situation, and I hope you can talk to me and we can work, you can tell me how I should behave in the future. Right. Nicole's asking me, what's your favorite technique to teach? Really depends on the context. I love language patterns. I love three magic questions. I love the 7 stages of what I call the mating dance. These are all things that give me the greatest amount of leverage. I just finished 3 days on a conversational belief change, which was absolutely fun. People loved it. Letta says, why guys say they want to be alone all the time, even to good people who care? Well, again, that's an interesting statement. I don't have a context, so you have to give me more information on that, Letta. Maybe in the comment section of after this video goes live, if you give me more detail, I can give you a better answer. Okay, so if she hasn't called for months, it may be that she just is going through some shit right now. If her dad just passed, she may have walked into a whole bunch of probates. There could be any number of reasons. I would call her and say, hey, I'm really concerned. I haven't heard from you. So, if I said or did anything to offend you, please let me know. I'm deeply sorry. I was wrong for doing it. And see where she goes from there, right? Remember, here's one of the hardest things to remember when it comes to interpersonal communication. Now, this is something that I teach all of my killer influence students, all my hypnotherapy students, all my social dynamic students, is that when people get triggered in front of you or what appears to be at you, there's a good chance, 9 times out of 10, that what they're acting for or they're acting out from has nothing to do with you. You're just in the line of fire. So in Simon's case, like we see here, her behavior may have absolutely nothing with what you did, right? But we're automatically, again, if nobody's controlling the narrative, so we automatically skew negative. So just leading with the obvious infraction or potential infraction, and then going from there is the best way to reopen lines of communication. But understand that even that kiss on the cheek may have triggered a complete set of associations to something that had nothing to do with you. And it's hard sometimes to really embrace that understanding. But it's actually true more than it isn't. So I wouldn't take it to heart too much, but I would lead with, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Be prepared for whatever venting she needs to do. Don't get reactive to that, because after she vents, things will get better. But if you try to fight back or defend yourself when she's venting, if that's what happens, you'll only make it worse. Again, we'll talk about these relationship dynamics in the 3-day. We'll talk about it a lot in Soulmate Secrets when you get the course. These are all things that we touch on in terms of communication and relational dynamics. You need to understand how genders are primed to respond, so you can do something effective rather than defensive. Okay. So I hope everybody has had a good time. In the words of the immortal Carol Burnett, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just got started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long. Good night, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. Click this link right now, and let's become the best lovers we can be at every stage of the relationship. It's a superpower, and you deserve to have it. I love you. Good night. And God bless everyone. Talk to you soon.